All right. Good morning, everybody. Just want to first make sure everyone can hear me, right? Can any of the panelists just unmute really quick and say you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning. I see everyone's trickling in, so we'll just go ahead and get started so we're not wasting anyone's time. Before we get started with Josh Kovich, who's going to give the official welcome, I do want to cover some housekeeping. So as everyone knows, this is a matchmaking event, duh, right? But we are starting out with morning information sessions with some of our agency buyers. So each section will feature briefings for different types of work and industries. So you likely won't need to sit in on every session unless you want to, feel free. But either way, if you have meetings set up for this afternoon and you prefer to only attend those, that's totally okay. The morning sessions will be recorded. So again, if you want to revisit the event at a later date, everyone will get a link to the recording once it's available. So speaking of the information sessions, you will see that you cannot unmute yourself. If you have any questions, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Depending on how many questions we get, we may or not be able to get to all of them. So if we have any outstanding pressing questions at the end of each section, then I'll do my best to create a FAQ that I will also send out along with the presentations for the day. Eventually, all of the information regarding the event will be on the Southeast Pennsylvania PTAC website for review. So again, we will send out all necessary links. Feel free to take notes, but you don't have to. So we will have about an hour and a half break between the morning sessions and the matchmaking meetings. So if you run into any technical difficulties, that time would be a good time to get those worked out, especially if you haven't tested your hardware, okay? So if you end up having any issues connecting to your meetings, John and his team, John Erdman and his team, and I will be available to get you where you need to be. Everything is accessible through your event portal. And all of your meetings should appear in your My Schedule page. So if all else fails, just go to that page and navigate from there, okay? I've already made this announcement to the panelists, but I do have all of your presentations queued up. So all you have to do is just speak and let me know when to move on to the next slide. But just in case I do get disconnected, it would be good to still kind of have your slides up. But again, everything will be sent out to you guys. So if we do have a little miss here, you'll get all of the materials. Should be a hands-free day today for you guys. And one last thing, we do have the SBA represented here today. So we have Jen Tilden, who we've been working with closely here, who can answer your questions about certifications. I do know she already has some meetings lined up. And we also have Christine Haber, who is a procurement center representative with the SBA, who will be available to meet with people from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. today. She actually just signed up. So if you are interested in meeting with her, just go to the directory and then schedule some time with her. I think that covers everything, all of the housekeeping. If I miss anything, I will interject when we have some time. But without further ado, we're going to welcome Josh Kovich, who will give the official welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Josh Kovich. I'm the program manager for the Southeast PA PTAC. And I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our first ever Matchmaker event. This event is brought to you by the PTACs of the eastern half of Pennsylvania, Northeast PA Alliance, CEDACOG, and Southeast PA. I'd like to especially also thank John Erdman of Stone River Event Management for assisting us with the virtual platform and all of our IT needs. Also, kudos to Southeast PA PTAC team members, Dominique Smiley and Irene Katachinsky, for doing all of the heavy lifting in putting this together. We have some great speakers for our general session agency briefings coming up real soon. And I'm sure you're going to find a lot of valuable information. And after the event, please do follow up with your local PTAC, and any of us will be happy to schedule a one-on-one counseling session with you. One other thing, the Procurement Technical Assistance Program is funded through cooperative agreements with the Defense Logistics Agency, specifically to help businesses like yours with all of their government contracting related needs. And we here today are just 3 of the 95 PTACs that are throughout the United States and its territories. providing no-cost counseling to our clients. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it back over to the Southeast PA PTAC's Assistant Program Manager, Dominique Smiley, to get the day started.
All right. So we are going to get started, as Josh said, with our first panel. We're going to be looking at base support. So we have with us the Environmental Protection Agency Region 3, and our presentation will be led by Tiffany Cooper and Sydney Ozer. Then we will swiftly move into our next panelist, who is from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Rupert Roberts III. Then we'll have GSA speak. We have Helena Koch. We'll also have NAVFAC, Mid-Atlantic region. We have Jennifer McGuire with us. And then we will end with Kay Doan from NASA John C. Stennis Space Center. So give me 1 second. I'm going to just switch on to the EPA's thing here. All right. And Tiffany and Sydney, take it away.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Cooper. I'm a contracting officer with the Environmental Protection Agency, Region 3, Philadelphia. Our Office of Small Business Utilization person, Hannah Jones, will be out on extended leave. So if by chance you need any information or you need any further information that is not listed here, please contact Sydney and I, and all this information will be on the slides that will be provided. Sydney, would you like to go through all of the information?
Sure. Hi, I'm Sydney Ozer. I'm a contracting officer, as well as Tiffany is also a contracting officer for the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, Region 3. The sheet you have here gives you a roadmap on how to find the various contracts that are available and future acquisitions that are available at EPA. We'll talk a little bit more for those who are interested, who've signed up or yet to sign up. We'll talk in detail about this chart, but I wanted to talk a little bit about EPA itself and what our mission is and where we're going and where the future is. So please work with us here, and we look forward to working with your company. One of the things we want is companies to network together and to work together and team together on GSA schedules or on other vehicles so that we can access your firms in our contracting arenas. The EPA right now with COVID, we're very involved with COVID as an environmental agency. The disinfectants that are being used right now, EPA has approved over 500 disinfectants, which can be used and with EPA approval for eliminating almost all of the COVID presence on surfaces and other materials. So we're very much involved with that. EPA also got involved. We all have been hearing about social media and various websites have been testifying in front of Congress these days, but Amazon and eBay and other vendors have been shipping out products which they've said disinfects for COVID, and yet they were not approved. And EPA has gone out and told these major sources and providers that they cannot list the products as being disinfectants for COVID. We're doing a lot of research right now on aerosolization. So we all sort of know now that it's, going through the air, and when we sneeze and when we cough, that's the way that it can be transmitted. So obviously we want to get masked. We want people, if they're medically capable and religiously permitted to use vaccines, we want them to be vaccinated. But the EPA is also doing researches on how aerosolization works in offices. What's the best techniques for cleaning the air and recirculating the air in offices, subways, buses, trains, and mass transit. And also EPA is involved in working in the new disinfection technologies regarding mass transit as well. One of the things we're also involved with in terms of our research is regarding wastewater. Obviously, EPA is in the wastewater business, but one of the ways we can find out what's going on with COVID and the spread of COVID in lieu of testing individuals is test the wastewater from a particular area. For instance, universities, schools, area sewage treatment plants. By looking into those wastewater treatment facilities, EPA is leading research to determine how we know whether there's a plume of COVID activity and viral spread in a particular area. And then after that, we can then go in with the health authorities and work together to determine individual contract tracing. So that's another area that EPA is working with in this arena. Another thing EPA is doing, we have provided personal protective equipment to other organizations so that health and responders can be safe and protected. And it's actually part of the mission of EPA. A lot of people don't realize that EPA is involved in detecting chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear situations. So we have air monitors that go out. If you have a significant event, say a presidential visit or a NASCAR race where there's hundreds of thousands of people used to exist, or a very high priority event, we will have air monitors out there to determine whether someone's put something in the air that we need to address. So that's another mission of EPA, more than what people see. Well, they're telling me about smart refrigerators that are green. Another situation we get involved with, and we've had all the wildfires and hurricanes and tropical storms. Another situation we get involved in is responding to these incidents and emergencies and events. And before other organizations can clean up the environment, we are one of the people who oftentimes have to go there after people are rescued. If you have oil tanks, you have drums, you have propane tanks, EPA goes in there and gets those out so that the waterways can be opened up, the train tracks can be started to operate again, the highways can work again. So that's another thing that we get involved with. And another situation we get involved with in terms of emergency responses is once we're out there, we make sure things get cleaned out properly. If hundreds or thousands of homes have been flooded or destroyed by a hurricane, they all have air conditioners, refrigerators, LP gas tanks, and those kinds of situations. And another thing EPA does, and oftentimes we do this with help from our contractors, as all these other missions, is to go through and collect these white boxes, as they're called, and we take out the gas tanks, the refrigeration tanks, and not only do we take them and protect them from being put into a landfill, but oftentimes we're able to reuse those tanks and save the environment that way. So that's some of the things that EPA is doing in its mission. And looking to the future, if you're forecasting, just like we have our acquisition forecast, the forecast for EPA using the president's budget proposal, and we all know that's subject to change, but EPA has the largest increase budget of any agency, I believe. It's a 21% increase from what we experienced last year. And Superfund, the hazardous waste program, which Tiffany and I are very much involved with, that program has been increased in its proposal by 33%. The agency is also looking to increase the number of people working for the agency by about 1,000 people, from 14,000 to 15,000 folks working for it. And all with the mission of making sure we have clean air and water and safe communities. And concerning where we're located, Region 3 is the middle Atlantic states. It doesn't include New Jersey, but it does include Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and the District of Columbia. And these hazardous waste sites, these Superfund hazardous waste sites, they're often found in old industrial places. And EPA has the highest number of Superfund sites in New Jersey, but the second highest number of Superfund hazardous waste sites are in Pennsylvania. Our region also is involved with fracking, which I guess a lot of you have heard about in the news. Mountaintop mining is another situation, and obviously Senator Manchin from West Virginia has been involved in many of these issues, and we're on the forefront. And the way that your companies can work with EPA, most of our contracts are very large contracts, and we encourage you, and we'll talk about this in our individual counseling sessions, is to work with the prime contractors who need companies like yours to meet their subcontracting goals and get good quality services. And in the Superfund arena, there are the RAF, we'll explain, Remedial Action Framework, the ERS, the Emergency Response, and the START, the Superfund technical contracts are the primary vehicles to have the government receive services and have the communities get their Superfund sites identified, level of contamination determined, designs for cleanup, and actually cleaned up. So that, in a nutshell, is where we are with EPA. And Dominique, do you want people to, if anybody has questions now, I can answer them. If it's more substantial, I'd be happy to respond to the chat, or we can do it as a wrap up after this first session.
Yeah, great question. Yes, thank you so much, Sydney and Tiffany, for that. We actually don't have any questions in the Q&A yet, but if you guys do have any questions about what you heard, go ahead and put it in there. And Sydney, if you are able to see the Q&A, feel free to answer any of those questions that are relevant.
I see that down there. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Dominique.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So awesome. Thank you so much again for that. So we're going to move right into our second presentation for the day, which is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So let me go ahead and bring that up really quick.
Hey, Dominique, just a comm check. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
All right, let me get this going. Okay, can everyone see?
Yes, we can see Dominique.
Perfect, thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
All right, good morning, everyone. Just full disclosure, I am not a Philadelphia district employee, so I'm kind of pinch hitting here. So I apologize in advance if I totally mess something up, but I will, in fact, do my best. My name is Rupert Roberts. I'm the Assistant Director for Small Business Programs at our North Atlantic regional headquarters, headquartered in Brooklyn. So I work with all of our districts from New England down to Virginia, which includes our district in Europe as well. So we're in the process of hiring a new small business deputy for Philadelphia district. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll be able to get that person on board and be able to get a great resource out to you all. But what I want to do today is just kind of go over some of our mission areas for the Philadelphia district and highlight some of our featured opportunities for FY22 and beyond. So Dominique, next slide, please. So the Corps of Engineers, essentially we're the nation's engineering firm. We operate ensuring that all the federal navigable waterways are clear for commerce. But the Philadelphia district is what we consider a full-size district. It encompasses our military mission, civil works, interagency. Philly is unique because it has the UDC, which is the MDC, the Marine Design Center, which takes care of the Philadelphia district, and the USACE core fleet of our hopper dredges, again, to make sure that the federal navigable waterways are clear. Looking at our military construction sites that Philadelphia supports, we have Dover Air Force Base, Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst, which usually is split between Philadelphia District and New York District. So if you see something coming out of Joint Base McGuire, it's a good bet. It is Philadelphia District, but you may see it come out of New York District as well. Tobyhanna Army Depot, we support that installation as well. And favorably for small businesses, we've had a lot of good opportunities for that location. So that's the military mission there in Civil Works, again, in navigation, flood risk mitigation, working with the local municipalities to make sure that locations are secure and safe from flooding or river runoff. The ecosystem restoration, where we come in and identify locations that are primed for restoration. And it could be man-made impact or just Mother Nature coming in and needing some additional help, so to speak. So Civil Works, our mission is strong. We're waiting to see what happens in Congress with the infrastructure bill. So we'll know more once Congress finalizes that and we have a firm mission in hand. And then interagency, that's the work that we do for other installations. The Corps of Engineers, we're a fee-for-service organization, so we don't generate any of these acquisitions or solicitations out of our own needs. Customers come to us with a need, and we either broker the construction or broker the contracts to get the work done. So you see, we do work with EPA. You heard speak before, FAA, FEMA. You see us work closely with FEMA for the emergency response efforts. So next slide, please. So these are the common NAICS codes that we use heavily in fiscal year 21. Obviously, it's a construction-heavy district, but if you look at the other NAICS codes that make up a little less than half, you see a broad category of different things that we provide. So from a shipbuilding and repairing, again, with the Marine Design Center, that's a big driver for the Philadelphia District, again, especially for small businesses, to include our women-owned small businesses and hubs-owned small businesses. So there's plenty of opportunities to get involved with the Philadelphia District, looking at those top 5, again, shipbuilding and repairing, the remediation services, other heavy and civil construction, facility support. Again, that's the installations that we support in the commercial and institutional building. Next slide, please. And if anyone has any questions throughout, please chime in, or you can throw it in the chat as well. So fiscal year 21 was fantastic in, by way of the obligation to small businesses. You see there, over 50% was awarded to small businesses, which is absolutely fantastic. So Philadelphia District is doing a great job in supporting our small businesses and stimulating the economy there. 300 million. So Philadelphia District is probably our 4th highest in terms of obligation within the North Atlantic Division. The heavy hitters being Baltimore, New York, and New England as well. So Philadelphia comes in a little bit before. Our Norfolk District, if you're looking for work down south, they're doing a lot with some of our expansion products at Arlington National Cemetery. Next slide, please. So here's a couple quick tips, and I borrowed these. Hopefully they're not redundant. If they are, don't worry about it. If it's good, please, take a screenshot of it, or I'm sure you get a copy of these slides. But being an active participant during the market research phase, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to firms and they said they responded to a source selection, and in doing so, it helped sway the opportunity to get set aside for small businesses. So if you remember anything that I say today, is respond to our source of sought. That's the only way we know that small businesses are capable and willing to, work on the acquisitions that we have, so that we can set it aside, just based, on the rule of 2. So please respond to those source of soughts when you see them. Otherwise, we will be putting them out for full and open competition. So word of advice, if you see an opportunity that you think that you'd be a great candidate on, work with one of your sister or brother, small businesses, to get that set aside. Say, hey, we're going after this opportunity for the core. We think we could get it set aside if we have a few more, women-owned small businesses or hub zones that could actually support us in doing that. So that's one thing I want to leave with you there. So next slide, please, Dominique. A few additional tips: read the solicitation, the specs and instructions, highly technical. It's very important during the evaluation phase. If we're not, and you see it there, read the solicitation, specs, and all instructions, see it there twice. If you are not reading that, you leave something out, that will impact your evaluation. If you make an assumption based on something that you see and it's not in fact in place, that's going to reflect in your evaluation. So just make sure that you're reading everything. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the PCO or the small business opportunity specialist once that individual is named, to make sure that you get the most important information. Acknowledge all amendments because if not, you won't be eligible. So make sure you're doing a great job on the details, the minutia, so to speak, just to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. Next slide, please. And here's what everybody came here for. So FY22 construction, and I apologize in advance, we don't have the forecasted source selection sorry, we don't have the forecasted set-aside information on there, but you can see from the range that from 5 to 10, 1 to 5 million, that's typically set aside for small business. So you could get a close idea of what we're thinking about going there. So we have a dam modification at Jadwin Dam, that's in Holmesdale, Pennsylvania, that's coming out the first quarter of this fiscal year. And then the habitat restoration. Again, those smaller projects is what we typically see a lot of small business interaction. So I would encourage all of you to take a look at that. We post everything on beta.sam, which was on the previous slide. So if it's out, it's going to be on beta.sam. We don't just hold anything back. Next slide, please. So dredging, Beachville, Philadelphia is unique in that they do a lot of the dredging Beachville projects for Wilmington Harbor. So that's a smaller dredging opportunities, which we don't typically see throughout our region. So it's a great opportunity for some of our smalls and some of our smalls to partner with our largest to get after some of our dredging opportunities. And then the maintenance dredging you see there, New Jersey intercoastal waterways. Typically you see that split between, just based on the locations between New York District and Philadelphia as well. Next slide, please. Again, this is more Beachville opportunities, and really, we're just nourishing up the beaches just to ensure that the flooding doesn't come too far inland, and that's really the main emphasis there. And when you see maintenance dredging, it's to make sure that the waterways are clear from all the particles, and sediments that typically build up over years. So you see Great Egg Harbor, Rehoboth Beach, Fenwick Island, Cape May Inlet, and Oakwood Beach. And those are all coming out in the third and fourth quarter this year. Next slide, please. Again, previously I mentioned our Marine Design Center. So this is a big generator of opportunities for small and large, but typically we see a lot of small business interaction here with the supplies that we need for the vessels that we work on. And then if you go to the next slide, what you see here is a snapshot of all the DODEX for our districts in the North Atlantic Division. So if you have any questions, those districts have different but similar opportunities. So again, Philadelphia, New York, They are very close in terms of working in each other's backyard. You will see some cross reference with Baltimore district as well. And then we have our New England district and Europe. If you're interested in doing any work overseas, again, make sure that you're reading the solicitation specs. A lot of that is set for the host nation countries to do that work, but that doesn't preclude you from partnering with one of those firms. Or in some cases, we do have some installation work in Europe that typically goes to our American firms. The next slide is the contact information. John Stefano is the District Chief of Contracting for Philadelphia District. He just came on board about, I want to say a month or two ago. So he's fairly new in the seat. He's from the area. A lot of you may already know him, but he's fantastic. I'm actually on a few different panels with him. So it's been great to get a chance to meet him. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to John or myself. And you see my contact information there. Subject for questions, that's all I have. One of you questions towards the end.
We do have a question for you, Ripper, but I think it's maybe more of a individual question. So are you able to see the Q&A? I can ask it if not. Okay, It's from Lori Novak. So if you don't mind just responding to her, that would be great. And then we can move into GSA's presentation with Helena Koch. So give me one more second and I will move us swiftly along here.
Yeah, Lori, that's a good question in terms of the base installations. There are different POCs. I can get you our program managers that are actually working those different bases. So there's, I'm sure, some way I can get your contact information to make sure that I follow up. So you're looking for Dover, Joint Base McGuire, and Tobyhanna. Okay.
Hey, Lori, if you send Ripper a message in the portal, then Ripper, you should be able to, you might even get a text or an email or something, and then you can follow up.
Perfect.
All right, awesome.
Perfect. I'll copy paste that and then shoot that out to you, Lori. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So can everyone see the GSA presentation up?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Miss Helena, feel free to take it away when you're ready.
Okay, there we are. Thank you so much, Dominique. You've been a great help to me today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, and my name is Helena Koch, and I'm here representing the General Services Administration. This particular presentation is geared more to the public building service side of the house. I think I'm going to give a presentation a little bit later, which is geared to the federal acquisition side of the house, which is the GSA schedule program. So everything that I'm saying right now is geared to more construction type firms. But it's a huge amount of work that the General Services Administration does. My name is Helena Koch. Again, I am the Small Business Technical Advisor for the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Utilization with GSA. And I am the representative for the 6-state Mid-Atlantic region, which is Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and Southern New Jersey. So if you are interested in doing work in those areas, then I would be your contact person. So I will have my email address at the last slide. Can we go on to the next slide, Dominique? As I said, GSA does do contracting for the federal government, and we are the contracting expert for the federal government. Our mission is to deliver value and savings in real estate, acquisition technology, and other mission support services across the federal government. We are considered the government's procurement expert. and we help other agencies acquire products and services from commercial sources. Every government agency is established with a mission, and each agency has a mission that's particular to their to what it is their agency is dedicated to. The EPA is protecting the environment, and we all know what the IRS is doing. They're out there collecting our taxes. And the GSA, our mission is specifically contracting. What we do is we do contracting for not only for ourselves, but for any agency that wishes us to do contracting for them. Just about everyone that works for General Services Administration is a contracting officer. So we are well versed in doing contracting for construction type and all the subsets of construction, as well as doing contracting for commercial services. So we are considered, as I said, the federal government's procurement expert, and we help other agencies acquire the space, the products and services that they need from the commercial sources. While the EPA might be really great at protecting the environment, they might not necessarily be great at buying IT equipment or buying furniture. And that is where GSA comes in. We are the procurement experts. So we would assist them, and we get vendors in place so that the other agencies can acquire the goods and services they need to complete their mission. So through our public building service, we provide real estate, architecture, interior design, and construction services to federal agencies. And through our federal acquisition side of the house, we deliver thousands of commercial goods and services at the best value across the government. So we service the other agencies. The other agencies are considered our customers. The vendors who we work with are considered our business partners to assist us in getting the goods and services that the agencies need to them and at a good price and timely. Can I go to the next slide, please? According to the Small Business Act, every agency does have a Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. And our office, of course, has the nationwide responsibility for GSA small business programs. And we serve as the chief advocate for the small businesses who want to do business with GSA. Our office promotes increased access to GSA's nationwide procurement opportunities. And we engage in activities that make it possible for the small business community to meet with contracting officers, to receive counseling, and to go forward with the procurement process, with the government procurement process. We do this by hopefully connecting small businesses with the right people to allow their businesses to grow. Part of my office's mission is to improve the efficiency and the awareness of the small businesses throughout the government. Next slide, please. We are divided, the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization is divided into different regions that correspond to, of course, the government, our agencies, different regions. I myself am housed in Philadelphia. As I said, I have a 6-state region. And if you're interested in doing business in any of these regions, especially in Region 3, you would contact me. But if you want to contact me, and I can give you information on how to get in touch with the OSDBU person in any different region that you're interested in doing work. Next slide, please. Okay, GSA, as I said, we are divided into two sides of the house, our Federal Acquisition Service and our Public Building Service. When you're approaching a government agency, I can't emphasize enough how important it is that you do some work in advance, that you don't just call them and say, what is it that you do? Find out about how the agency does work and what it is that they're going to require and what kind of questions you're going to be asked when you want to do work with them. So if you want to do work with construction type services, you would be dealing with our public building side of the house, which does work in an entirely different manner. than the federal acquisition side of the house. That's the federal acquisition side of the house is responsible for providing the commercial products and services that other government agencies can use. So you want to know who you're going to be dealing with when, and this is the way GSA is set up. But again, if you're going to get in touch with a government agency, you should always find out how it is that they do business. Do a little research. It's so easy to find any information about any government agency just going onto the website, and gsa.gov, sba.gov, irs.gov. You'll get all the information that you do need for that particular agency. Can I go to the next slide, please? The public building, do you see the security notification, or is that something that's on
That might be on your.
Right, it was on my computer. I can see my own slide. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The public building service, as I said, is the topic of this particular presentation. And what we do is we are the landlord and the real estate organization for the civilian federal government. So GSA is responsible for leasing space to federal customer agencies. We acquire the space that they need. We are responsible for repairs and alterations and renovations to our existing federal buildings. We are responsible for construction. We construct, design courthouses, border stations, do construction of the new federal office buildings and courthouses. And we are responsible for the buildings and operations and maintenance of those buildings. So anything that has to do with the actual structure of the building, the actual building itself. So if it's roofing services or supplying new windows or supplying doors or doing anything that has to do with keeping the building operational, that would be done through the public building side of the house. Next slide, please. The way, as I said, the way the PBS side of the house does business is entirely different from the FAS side of the house. When the public building service is doing business, we cannot go out for any kind of information from a vendor until we get the appropriation from Congress. Once Congress appropriates the money, then we can start our work. And what we do is we will issue public notices for specific requirements in the sam.gov website, and our own contracting officers will award and administer the contract. So any new construction, any repair and alteration jobs in the Mid-Atlantic region will be coming through my office. And you would be getting in touch with our contracting officers. Next slide, please. There are 5 small business contracting programs, and the government is extremely interested in utilizing these small business programs to the maximum extent. So whenever we have jobs that come out, no matter what the dollar value, we always do our market research, and we always try to make sure that as many procurements as possible are being steered towards the small businesses. So again, when you're approaching a government agency, one of the first things that you want to do is make sure, of course, that you are a small business. And then if you are eligible for any of the certifications programs that the SBA handles, you should review their certification programs to see if you are eligible to be included in them. They're extremely important to government agencies that we get as many, the involvement of as many women-owned businesses, service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses, businesses that are located in historically underutilized business zones. We do not have a goal for 8A, but 8A is considered part of our small disadvantaged business program. So we're always looking for small disadvantaged businesses, minority-owned businesses, anyone that would set you apart and give you a certification. You can go through the Small Business Administration and see if you are eligible for any of those certifications. They certainly are helpful when you are submitting a proposal to be placed on be awarded a contract. So these are, as I said, these are very important to contracting officers. Next slide, please. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to list our procurements on the sam.gov site. And this is what all government agencies do. If you're not familiar with sam.gov, of course, that is where all government agencies list their contracting opportunities that are $25,000 or more. And this is, so you should be completely familiar with how to use the sam.gov. It's been revamped, and that offers a lot more opportunities, and a lot more training is available on there. A lot more market research is available on there. So you should spend some time to get involved in the sam.gov. It will benefit you no matter what agency that you are looking to do business with. You can search for opportunities that are open for bidding at the present time. You can search for sources sought, for requests for quotes and requests for information. As was mentioned before, sources sought, requests for information are extremely important in the acquisition process. Our contracting officers are going to be searching for small businesses who are able and willing to compete on particular jobs. They're going to put the first piece of information out there in a sources sought. I know my region has several sources sought out in the sam.gov right now. And we're asking you specific questions. Would you be willing to compete on our contract if we were able to set it aside for small business? And depending on the responses that we receive from those sources sought, we do set projects aside, or we have to, if we don't get the responses, we have to let them go full and open. So it only benefits you to submit information on the sources sought, because more business, you will cut down on your competition. More projects will be set aside for small business participation only. So I encourage you to always go to the sam.gov and respond to the sources sought. It offers you opportunity for vendor collaboration. As I said, in the new sam.gov gives you an awful lot of opportunities for market research, and it gives you information on small business events, for outreach. It's an important source of information for government contracting. And if you're going to be involved in government contracting, you have to be completely familiar with the sam.gov site. Next slide, please. The General Services Administration does post a forecast of contracting opportunities. Actually, every government agency is required by law to post a forecast of contracting opportunities. It gives you information on what we're going to be doing, or how we plan on spending our budget in the next fiscal year. This particular forecast, we've launched a whole website actually dedicated to what kind of contracting we're going to be doing in this fiscal year. As I said, as Congress appropriates money, we add to this. So it's a living document, and we give you an opportunity to get your information out there before the procurement hits the street. So if we get an opportunity, or we feel that we're going to have funding, or we get the funding for a particular job, it starts the acquisition planning process. One of the first steps in the acquisition planning process is to post that acquisition on the forecast of contracting opportunities. It gives you an opportunity to know 6 months, 8 months, 10 months in advance of this hitting the streets, that there is going to be money spent in a particular area as a particular, under a particular NAICS code. It gives you all the information about the job that is possible at the present time. And it gives you an opportunity to get your partners together and to get materials together. This holds for the forecast, holds for both the new construction type and all types of construction jobs, as well as for the procurement of products and services. So we know that it's somewhere in the fiscal year, the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, we're going to be purchasing a certain amount of products. We're going to be starting a new construction project. That information is your tap on the shoulder to start to get your information together so that when this project hits the streets, you are going to be ready for it. So you should always make a habit of looking through the forecast of contracting opportunities. And as I said, every agency does have one posted on their website. Next slide, please. This is the type of information that then you can get used to using this forecast and get through it real quick. So it's not a huge task for you, and it gives you a lot of great information. You can search our forecast by the NAICS code. You can search our forecast by the geographic area you want to do the work. You can search our forecast by the place of performance, or just about any type of information there is a filter for, and you can find out what kind of jobs are being forecasted. You can say, I'm only interested in what's coming in the fourth quarter because it's going to take me that long to get my information together. And you can search by quarter. It's very easy to manipulate. There are a lot of filters, and it'll give you a lot of great information on upcoming procurements. Next slide, please. This is the type of information you're going to get. It's going to give you a description of the job and what agency is going to be responsible for the contracting. It's going to give you the estimated value of the contract under a certain NAICS code. It's going to give you the name of the contracting officer. And that's always something that people are always asking, how can I get in touch with a real contracting officer? Well, this is an active contracting officer who is going to be in charge of a particular job, gives you all the information on that job, and you can send that contracting officer a note and just say, I'm following this job. And is there any information I can submit at the present time? You can submit your capability statement. And as the job takes form, they're going to be adding more and more information to the listing. So you have a listing number, you know what kind of job is coming up, you know which part of the fiscal year is going to be, it's planned to be contracted at, and all the information that you need. It's also going to typically will give you the name of the small business person also and their contact information. So if you see a forecast listing that you're interested in, you would just send me an email and the contracting officer an email and say, this is the listing I'm interested in. Can you keep me appraised of new information on it? And we'll be glad to work with you that way. So again, this is another tool, an electronic tool that we are offering, and we are asking you to become familiar with it because it's really going to be very beneficial. Next slide, please. Other agencies, as I said, all agencies are required by law to post their forecasts on a public site. We are trying to encourage other agencies to utilize our forecast. We do now have the Department of the Interior, I believe it's the Department of Labor, and also the Small Business Administration all post their projects on the GSA forecast. If you're interested in other forecasts, you can find them at this particular website, and it'll lead you to other agency forecasts, so you can get the same type of information for other agencies. Next slide, please. If you're looking through the procurements and if you're looking through the forecast and you're saying, you know, this really isn't what I'm interested in, the jobs are too large, I don't feel that I have enough past performance to compete, we always encourage you to consider subcontracting as a contract option. I'm always telling our vendors that when we post a solicitation, there's going to be one, in the end, there's going to be one award made to one contractor who is going to be awarded the construction of a new building, say, or repairs, large repair and alteration. That contract is going to probably have 50, 70 subcontracts attached to it. So there's certainly more opportunity for subcontracting than there is for being the prime. And so we'd like you to be open to the idea of subcontracting as a contracting option. It certainly allows vendors who have not had a lot of experience with government contracting to learn about government contracting and to get some past performance under their belt. It also highlights your partnerships as your government experience so that you can show that you have worked with other primes who are doing work with the federal government. So it's an excellent source, an excellent way for you to get your foot in the door. If you're not ready to be a prime as at the present time, please, do consider subcontracting as a contract option. Next slide, please. Subcontracting opportunities. We do have a subcontracting directory, which lists all of the prime contractors who now have GSA contracts or GSA schedule or GSA construction type contracts, and who have a requirement to subcontract out certain portions of their work to small businesses and all the different subsets of small businesses. They must demonstrate to us, they submit their subcontracting plans to us, and they must demonstrate that they have given maximum practicable opportunity to all small businesses and all the subsets of small business to participate in the particular job that they have been awarded, the large job, the large job. So it's important that you learn about the different subcontracting opportunities that are always involved. Another way to find out about subcontracting opportunities is to attend any type of vendor sessions that are surrounding a particular contract. If you're reviewing the SAM.gov and you see that we're going to be constructing a new building in a certain area, there's always going to be vendor days, there's always going to be industry days. And it's important that you come to those industry days, even if you're thinking that the job's going to be too large for you, gives you an opportunity to meet with the primes who are going to bid the job. So following along the jobs that you see from the forecast through the SAM.gov site into the subcontracting opportunities that are going to be available, there's a progression that you should follow, and it will certainly give you an opportunity, as I said, to meet with the vendors who are going to be competing on particular jobs. Next slide, please. What we do encourage you, if you're interested in doing work on our public building side of the house, we are always encouraging you to please attend the pre-proposal conferences, respond to the sources sought. The job might be too large for you, but if you respond to the sources sought, we're going to it's going to give us information about your company. It's a way of getting your information into the hands of a real contracting officer. It's important that we know you're out there. We encourage you to keep your SAM profile updated. The SAM profile, once you register, you have to be aware you're going to be required to renew your registration on a yearly basis. It's not just a one-time thing. So you have to keep your SAM profile updated. Make a complete profile with the dynamic small business database that the SBA offers. It's a subset of the SAM.gov. And if you go through, as you fill in your SAM.gov, you're asked if you want your information put on the dynamic small business database. You should always have your information there and make sure your information is complete. Review your profile on the dynamic small business database. Make sure that you have all the information about your bonding capabilities, your connection to your websites, things that government contracting officers would want to know on a quick and easy basis. So make sure you have a complete profile. We'll be glad to work with you to make sure your profile is complete and that you have the information that our contracting officers would want to see at a minute's notice. You can market yourself to the PBS staff, to the Public Building Service staff. As I said, you have the names and contact information for live contracting officers through the forecast and through the SAM.gov site. So market yourself to those PBS officers, contracting officers, Let them know that you're out there and that you're interested. Bid on the projects. Get your information again into their hands. You can direct questions to the contracting officer or through the small business office. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve as your advocate, to get your information through to the contracting officers, and if possible, to get you a meeting if they have a project that they feel that you can compete on. If you see projects that are too large for you, you can get in touch with your other small business vendors and form a joint ventures so that together you can work to attack the larger projects. There's always ways of attacking a project, and as if you would like to discuss it with your small business officer, we're certainly here to work with you and to get you into the projects in any way possible that suits your station right now, where your small business is, which will allow your small business to grow. Next slide, please. I've been saying, contact your small business officer and the small business officer will work with you. I am the small business officer. My name is Helena Koch. If you send me an email at helenakoch@gsa.gov, I will be happy to explain all the electronic tools that the government offers, the GSA offers, how you can fit your particular business into our projects, and just to work with you in general to get you started through government contracting. And thanks very much. And I look forward to meeting with you all. Are there any questions?
I don't think that we had any questions for this presentation, but again, if they come through, Helena, I'll either message you privately and let you know which questions are, or I can just ask them when we have time. But thank you so much for that presentation.
Okay, thank
We
you.
will, yeah, absolutely. And we will move right into NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic region with Jennifer McGuire. So I will share a new screen here.
Hi, Dominique. This is Jennifer. This is a mic check. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. And I'm
Okay,
going to
great.
try and get this full screen. So I will click through these, but as I get the technical stuff going, you can go ahead and start when you're ready.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer McGuire. I'm the Deputy for Small Business at NAVFAC. That stands for Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command. We are the Navy's construction contracting command. And before I get started, I would like to give a shout out to John Erdman. He's one of the guys behind the scenes, and he has been so helpful to me the last couple of days getting me set up. So John, if you're hearing in the background, thank you. Thank you very much. So while Dominique gets this set up in full screen, I'm going to keep going. This is what NAVFAC does. We have offices all over the world, but I'm specifically out of the Norfolk, Virginia office of Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command. Oh, right, great. There you go. You got it full screen. Thank you.
Awesome. Perfect.
NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic, and we're headquartered out of Norfolk, Virginia, and we do engineering support, base operations, services. Basically, think of anything that maintains a base. So if a building needs to be built, a building needs to be renovated, if we need a service to keep facilities going, such as janitorial, pest control, grounds maintenance, lawn mowing, refuse collection, snow removal, anything that's facilities related, public works type related work, we do. We also, and this is for the Navy and the Marine Corps, we also do environmental. We might do an environmental cleanup, we might do an environmental study and such. So anything that keeps the base going is what NAVFAC does. We do very similar type purchases as the Army Corps of Engineers on their construction and facilities type work. Next slide, please. This is kind of an eye chart, and I knew it would be, but I just wanted to give you an idea of where our area of responsibility is. The upper right corner of this slide shows you Maine, the state of Maine, all the way down to the orange at the bottom, that's South Carolina. And then over to the left in the light blue, that is Great Lakes. So this is our area of responsibility. We have a large area and a lot going on the eastern seaboard with the Navy. What we don't do is the Washington, D.C. area. So think of the Beltway. Anything in the Washington, D.C. area. NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic does not do that. We have an office in NAVFAC, Washington, out of the Navy Yard in the District of Columbia, and they take care of all of that work. But NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic has a pretty large area of responsibility, as you can see. Next slide, please. And then this gives you a little bit more detail about what Mid-Atlantic buys. Construction, architect, design, technical services, environmental planning, and public works type services. Now, say you're interested in the Washington, D.C. area, or say maybe you're interested in the northwest part of our country, or the southeast part of our country, or southwest, just whatever area you are interested in. NAVFAC pretty much does the same thing for the Navy and the Marine Corps throughout all of the U.S. and also overseas areas. We do this for the Navy and the Marine Corps. Next slide, please. So, and I'll just do a disclaimer here that a lot of the information that I'm presenting today has already been discussed by folks that have spoken before me. So I'm not going to spend tons of time and overemphasize, because I think you're getting the idea. But maybe a little bit of new information is in 2019, the federal government spent $4.4 trillion. Wow, that's a lot of money, I think, anyhow. So my point of bringing that forward is know your target market. It might not be NAVFAC. It might not be GSA. It might not be the Army Corps. It might not be EPA. It might be the Department of Justice, or it might be maybe if you are a construction firm, because that's my world, I'll talk to that. Maybe you're just targeting NAVFAC and Army Corps. But think about other agencies. Other agencies could potentially do construction, or maybe they would do service contracts. So think about, don't just limit it to NAVFAC or to Army Corps or whoever. One of the ways that you can find out who also does your work is to go on this usaspending.gov and key in your NAICS code, and it'll tell you who buys what you do. Kind of jumped around a little bit. We've talked about this over and over all morning long. So important. You've heard it called beta.sam and you've heard it called SAM. They are the same thing. Beta was kind of the beginning test site. Now it's been migrated to sam.gov, but that's where we all put our information for our solicitations. There's a lot of other things that come on sam.gov that I'll talk about in a few minutes. Next slide, please. Ms. Koch mentioned about the federal agencies' forecasts. This is the link to the NAVFAC forecasts. So you can use this link to learn about all of the forecasts that come through for NAVFAC. You can search by region, you can search by area, you can search by our unit identification code at Mid-Atlantic is N as in Navy 40085. That's N40085. If you search through with that code, it'll show just what we're doing in our area of responsibility. But maybe don't just limit it to that, because you might find other things outside of just the Mid-Atlantic region that you're interested in. Let's see, the NAVFAC small business website is the one in the middle there. There's a lot of really great information there. One of the things that I will draw your attention to the most on that website is there is a link to NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic, and we have just recently posted a listing of all the prime contractors for A&E and construction that we have on contract right now, meaning we have multiple award contracts with them. So those are great firms to market yourself for subcontracting opportunities. And then NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic, we have our own website. The small business information that you're going to find, though, can be drilled down to on that small business website link in the middle. Next slide, please. How to get involved. Like we've said over and over again, and it's so worth repeating, everything is out there at a government touch point called sam.gov. If you've been,
No, I got another one.
I think we have a hot mic.
From the tree outside.
Can Dominique, can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I just needed who it was. Go ahead.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. So if you've been around for a while, you may have heard Fed Biz Ops, FBO. That is the old way that we posted procurements solicitations. So if you ever have heard that term, that's now sam.gov. So just keep that in mind. And here's that unit identification code that I talked about. It's also important on sam.gov. You can use that as a filter to find Mid-Atlantic work. Mr. Roberts from the Army Corps of Engineers foot stomped on one thing. He said that if you don't remember anything else about my presentation today, please remember about sources sought. He took the words right out of my mouth. I always say that, whether I'm talking to a business one-on-one or I'm talking to a small business group like we're in today. It is so important to answer our sources sought. We have a requirement and we are trying to find if there are small businesses out there that can do this work. We look at those socioeconomic status categories that I believe Ms. Coach showed on GSA. It's 8A, Hub Zone, Women-Owned, Service Disabled, small business. We're looking for those folks to be able to do this work. We do our own market research to tell if folks are out there. We do dynamic small business searches. We have other ways we do research from databases of people that come in and give us their capability statements. But when we have a requirement and we put a source of sought and small businesses don't respond, it is so hard for me in my office, the Office of Small Business. I'm an office of one, to convince a contracting officer that I know there's lots of small businesses out there that can do this work and I want you to set it aside. But when they don't respond to the sources sought, it's very hard for us to convince contracting officers that there might be out there, but they're not interested because they're not responding. On the flip side, I hear small businesses say, hey, I'm only 3 deep. I don't have time to answer all these sources sought because nothing happened the last 2 times I did this. And I say, anytime that you don't respond to a sources sought, you potentially leave money on the table. So very, very, very important to have someone in your business be a daily or an every other day, or almost weekly is too short because it might only be out for a week and you might not have a chance to respond. But sources sought, we need you to respond. It is our primary way to find if there are small businesses that we can set a procurement aside. And these folks you're talking to this morning are all the small business advocates out there, and that is what we want. We are trying to set things aside for you. So please help us in responding. There's also on sam.gov requests for information, solicitations. We post at NAVFAC outreach events. Say we are going to have an outreach event like we're having today with the PTAC. We're going to put a notice on sam.gov. So watch for those. It's a great way to learn about important information that's coming up. Next slide, please. What does the Office of Small Business Programs do? We promote maximum opportunities to small business. One of the ways that I was talking about is looking at procurements and trying to convince the contracting officer that we are going to set something aside. At NAVFAC, our contracting officers are fantastic. Their first thought and idea is small business. So they make my job easy. But what I would like to ask for you all to do is to be alert and to respond to sources' thoughts, because that will also help to get more money in your pockets. Not only do we promote maximum opportunities, but we advise and assist acquisition officials on strategies and structures to utilize small businesses. We counsel small businesses on opportunities for DoD contracts. We analyze capabilities, and we also ensure large businesses provide adequate subcontracting to small business concerns. Next slide, please. Here are those socioeconomic small business categories that have been mentioned in previous presentations, but we set things aside for small business, which all categories can apply to. We set things aside for small disadvantaged. And if you're an 8A out there, that's where you fall into. We set aside for hub zone, which is a historically underutilized business zone. Women-owned small businesses. Women-owned is a little bit different than all the rest. To set something aside for a women-owned small business, it's our newest category. The small business, the project has to fall in a NAICS code that is underutilized by women-owned small businesses. If you don't know about that, I highly recommend that you go on to the SBA website and learn more about that. And I have that website coming up here in a few minutes. But there's a lot of really good information about the women-owned small business program. And then there's the service disabled veteran-owned small business. And we set procurements aside for all of those socioeconomic status categories. Next slide, please. Okay, so for we're in FY22 now. That started on October 1st. We do not have our FY22 goals set yet. We are in negotiating with the Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs. We'll have those shortly, I suspect. But for now, we're tracking towards our FY21 goals. They'll probably be somewhat similar. But in FY21, you can see we had a pretty aggressive program. And the final numbers for FY21 have not been released, but our preliminary data shows at this point that we have exceeded all of our targets for FY21, which is fantastic news. But what does that mean to you all? Percentages are percentages. Here's the thing that is the biggest kicker to know. Just NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic, that Maine to South Carolina with Great Lakes over there, a little bit to the west, and not even including the Washington, D.C. area. NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic alone awarded $1 billion, and that's with a B, $1 billion of prime contracts directly to small businesses. That's huge. That is so much money. We are so proud of that, especially in light of the ways of the world that is in our country that's happened this last year with small businesses struggling so much in the pandemic. The Navy has continued to spend, and we are at a record high of overall spend. And of that, $1 billion went to small business concerns. So I'm really proud of that. And we are striving for that over and over again. And like I said, FY22 targets are still in process. Next slide, please. Okay, I mentioned that SBA resource website. Here's the SBA website. It's really fantastic. The SBA does really good in getting out good information to interested folks. So if you want to learn more about any of those socioeconomic categories to find out if you fall into them, if you want to do your own research, you can go there. I'm sure PTAC would help you as well. And then also the SBA, of course. Then subcontracting opportunities. The SBA has a website called Subnet. It is a good way to get your name out there. But also I had mentioned earlier, subcontracting opportunities. You can look at that small business web page for NAVFAC, and we've listed all of our multiple award contracts, and you can market yourself to those firms for subcontracting opportunities. Dynamic small business search. You definitely want to make sure that your profile is up to date. Look at your competitors' profiles. Do they look better than yours? If they do, you might want to step up your game. Make sure you fill in all of the space in your profile block, because contracting officers really do use that search to find sources. They use it to find sources to sole source to 8A firms. They use it to find sources to see if there's other folks out there. Sometimes we even have a sources sought notice and we do dynamic small business search, and we get email addresses and we do an email blast to those firms that we pulled up in the dynamic small business search and say, hey, interested parties, we just posted a sources sought on sam.gov. And in case you're interested, here's a link to it because we'd like to see if you're interested. So lots of things come out of that dynamic small business search. Real important. Let's see, what else do I have on this slide? Small business offices, I think I talked about this. We search on the DSBS, contracting officers search on it, and profiles need to be dynamic. Next slide, please. I went ahead, this slide I use in more so just a general outreach event that I might go to, but I decided to leave it on here because it is so important. I know Procurement Technical Assistance Center is putting on this event, but they are so vital to your success in navigating government contracting. You know, my office, I can't really tell you exactly what to do to put in a procurement, because I work for the command that's going to be awarding that procurement to you. If I told one person something that gave them an unfair advantage over another, that would not be good. But what Procurement Technical Assistance Center can do is they're not affiliated with the buying command. So they have the ability to look at proposals, to help, to guide, to assist, to coach. And I refer people to Procurement Technical Assistance Centers all the time. So use them as a resource. I'm probably preaching to the choir on this because you're already here, so you're already connected with, but just know that I think that they're fantastic and utilize them to the best way you can. There's also small business development centers. They also provide assistance, and there is a link to their website as well. Next slide, please. So, contact information. I am, like I said, the deputy for small business at NAVFAC Mid-Atlantic. Here's my email address. I do have some meetings with folks this afternoon via the outreach matchmaking, and then tomorrow. So I just want to give a disclaimer right now. I have done my best to accept the ones that I think the meeting invites that are for my area, what we buy, and I have accepted those. There are a couple that I have not accepted, and it's either it didn't fit my time correctly, or I didn't think that we had a match in what we buy. But if I got that wrong, because believe me, I am not the expert on knowing everything about what your firm does. If I've gotten that wrong, please send me an email with your capability statement. And that is a way to get a hold of me, other than these matchmaking sessions today. So with that, Dominique, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was a great presentation. We're going to swiftly move. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to swiftly move into our last presentation for the first hour with the NASA John C. Stennis Space Center with Kay Doan. I'm going to go ahead and reshare here, get us together. And Kay, are you able to unmute?
I am unmuted, thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm gonna share screen here, and then, oops. Okay, can we see the full screen?
Yep, sure can, thank you.
All right, perfect, no problem.
So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. So again, I'm Kay Doan. I'm with the Small Business Office at NASA Stennis Space Center. I was going to turn on my video today just so it could be a little more friendly with the virtual world, but it doesn't seem to be working, so that's fine. But I will make this pretty quickly because I think a lot of people have already said the things that I'd say. But next slide, please. So Stennis Space Center is actually located in Hancock County in Mississippi, and so we're rocket engine propulsion testing. And so I know you're going to end up getting these slides, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly, but take the time to go through the little video we have here because it's pretty nice that talks about the small business procurements that we have here at Stennis. Next slide. So this is a list of all the different federal, state, and private entities that are located at Stennis Space Center. So if you're interested in spreading your business in the southern region, then please go to this website here and you'll be able to get to different links to these different entities. And then from there, look for their procurement websites, and then you can find out what opportunities they have for you. Next slide. With that, I just wanted to also let you know that we do track our small business goals regularly. Every week I run reports on it and keep track of it. So for FY21, we're happy to say that we exceeded all of our goals, in addition to having some federal mandate goals that we've exceeded as well. Next slide. Our top NAICS code at Stennis Space Center are the ones following here. However, construction is mostly where the dollars are spent. Next slide. And with that, here's some prime vendors for Stennis Space Center. And so you can see here, I have the small business point of contact on the right-hand side that you can email. And so I would definitely recommend that you reach out to these small vendors. Now, S3 is a large vendor. They do sometimes get smaller procurements from us. And so definitely reach out to them as well to see what opportunities that you can help them out with. Next slide. Now, this is just a list of the different small business offices across the United States for NASA. And it's a product service line that NASA is starting to go to. So instead of having each contracting office is going to procure, their, all 10 types of procurements, they're now going to start regionalizing the different types of procurements at different NASA centers. So it's important for you to do your homework, to know the different missions of the centers and to know what they're doing. With that in mind, you also need to be prepared to know that just because you see something on sam.gov that's posted for Stennis or for Goddard, it doesn't mean that that work's going to be at that center. It could be located someplace else. But make sure you go through this little list so you know who and what center that you need to focus your attention on. Next slide. And so with that, Stennis Space Center is actually one of the construction sites. So the next following screens, if you can use your snippet tool, you're welcome to do a print screen of this. However, I know the slides are going to be sent to you as well. But here's one of our Western contracts for the multiple award construction contract. And I have the websites for the vendors as well as the POC emails. But I would highly recommend that you go to the websites and to determine what type of construction that these companies perform. Someone may be in part of steel, concrete, so you need to see where you fit into it. So you don't want to just email all of them. You want to make sure you actually have an affiliation that you can support what they're going to do. Pay attention as well to the last date to order and know that these contracts will come to an end and they're going to start researching. We're going to start doing sources sought and RFIs, and things are going to come out within a year, 2 years in advance, most likely 2 years in advance, considering the fact of how long it takes for the source boards to go through to make these selections. Next slide. And so here's another one for Glenn Research Center. And I want to point out some of the names of the contractors may be duplicates because they're actually located across the United States. So, don't just worry about contacting these vendors that are on this one particular center. Make sure you look at the list as a whole, because once again, they could be located across the United States. Next slide. As well as another thing too to pay attention to is the different small social economic categories. So if you are a company that, say for example, your hub zone, and this is a women-owned company, well, then you may want to offer your teaming arrangements with them. So this way they could utilize your hub zone status. Now, of course, these contracts are already in place, but it doesn't mean they can't use you for recompetes in the future. Next slide. Another thing too I want to point out is that for the MAC, the multiple award construction contracts, these opportunities will not be posted on SAM.gov. They're only put out towards these companies that already have the award. So that's why it's so important for you to contact them about becoming a subcontractor to them. Next slide. And here's a little keynote at the bottom on the right that will tell you different NASA centers and who they are in case you're not familiar with the language. Next slide. Once again, just a few little keynotes of how important it is. I think everybody's covered it today, what sources sought and RFIs and making sure you respond. Next slide. Here's just a slide, a quick little preview of each of the NASA centers that gives you a mission. It's important for you to know what their missions are so you kind of know where you fit into the puzzle for that center. Next slide. Here's a list of the different small business specialists located across the United States. And so feel free to contact them. We also have the website as well, but we're all here for you to help you to answer any questions that you may have. Next slide. And here's our website that has just been accomplished, and it's really a great one. And the center of the screen here, you'll notice we have the active contract listing. So what's important about that, it's going to give you all the current contracts that NASA has in place with the peer to performance, which once again, you want to pay attention to so you can go refer to that timeline to see things out in beta.sam. I'm sorry, not beta.sam, but sam.gov. Somebody put that in my head earlier. So anyway, within sam.gov, you want to pay attention to that so that when the time frame's coming up for the renewal, as well as the bottom and the center part there, we also have the acquisition forecast that gets updated twice a year, as well as we have multiple little screens in here that you can go to of just lots of information. On the far left-hand side, up a little bit, we have contacts of OSBP to see all the different small business specialists. We also have a calendar of events where you can see series of webinars, but just tons of information. So make sure you go through our website and be familiar with it. We also have a vendor database too, where the link I believe is at the top as well as on the side. It's throughout the website. And make sure you put your company into it because we do use that as a market research tool type situation. So put your company in there as well. Next slide. Part of the acquisition forecast, this is what it's going to look like. It's real easy to use. And you'll notice there where the red arrow is at, once you get into the website, you'll click on there. It's going to give you like an Excel type format, and you can sort it by, center, NAICS codes, whatever the case may be that you're looking for. You can also do a word search. Next slide. And we also have a mobile app that you can download on your phone or iPad. And so what I like about this mobile app is that ACL that's on the web page, it's also on here as well. So if you notice the third little screen over, it says contracts, and there's a list of the different categories that we have where the contracts are sorted through. So if you're, somebody who's interested in the IT, there you go. You got a whole bunch of them, but don't just limit yourself to those categories. Make sure you review the different contracts that are out there and take those contract numbers, research them to find out what were the requirements, because you never know where you may fit into some of those. Next slide. With that, we do have some learning seminars that are also OSBP puts out. Now, of course, this one has just, went through it last week. However, the website is still up there. The next webinar we have will be on November 17th, and it's on effective proposal writing. And so I will definitely update my slide with that new information. They haven't put out the registration link on it. They just posted the new webinars coming up for this new fiscal year. So that's why I didn't have it. But here's the link for it. And to the bottom of the page, we also have a link for archive webinars. So if you'd like to learn more about the different NASA centers, please go review those as well, because they have a lot of great information, cool videos, procurement information on how to do business with each one of the centers. Next slide, please. Of course, sam.gov, everybody has said it, how important it is. Not sure if you're aware that you can actually set up email notifications. And so this is just a little quick slide of how to set that up. There's also a how-to video. And so I think it's really important to utilize SAM.gov. Now, NASA will use SAM.gov as well as SOUP and GSA in their procurements. Next slide, please. I also do my own outreach events. I have a small business showcase. So if you're in the construction world and you're interested in giving a 10-minute capabilities presentation, you're welcome to contact me and I'll put you in line for one of those presentations. My email will be coming up as well as on the matchmaking tomorrow too. Next slide. And here's a list of helpful resources. Of course, everybody has pointed out multiple of these screens. I do want to say we do use SOUP and GSA. So if you don't have a contract with SOUP and GSA, that's okay. Go to those websites and go research to find out which vendors are out there that you could possibly team up with. And I know in the middle of the screen there, I have SBA Dynamic Search Engine too. I know it was brought up. I also like this website. I think it's a great tool as a small business company. Whoever you normally sell your products to or your services to, determine who those what their NAICS codes are. You can go into this system and search for those companies, and then you just hit email, and it puts say you get 20 responses. Well, it'll put all those emails to the bottom of the screen. You highlight it, copy it. You can email all 20 of them at a drop of a hat, your capability statement. But don't just email them your capability statement. Also, make sure you do your homework to know, I'm sorry about that, my phone keeps ringing. Make sure you do your homework to know what type of work that they need your assistance with, and then contact them about maybe doing your own little presentation with them. Next slide, please. Okay, that's it. So here's my email point of contact. We also have a technical point of contact. So if you have any questions about things that you see going on with NASA and you want to know a little bit more about the SBIR program or anything of that nature, you can contact Tom Stanley as well, or contact me. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. I know I spoke a little fast, but I know we were trying to save some time, but thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for that, Kay. So we are running a little bit late, so I want to kind of swiftly move into the next sessions here. Sorry about that. I got out my screen here, but we are going to be moving into the second briefing. So it's going to be the knowledge-based services. We have GSA again with Helena Koch. We also have Federal Aviation Administration with Deborah Hemphill. And then we also have Naval Surface Warfare Center of Philadelphia with Anthony DePlacido. So everyone's in here. So we will get the GSA one in here. 1 minute. Okay. All right, Helena, are you still with us? Let me see. Okay, you should be able to unmute. There you go.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm still with you, and I enjoyed all the presentations. They were all great. So everybody gives a good piece of information about their agency, and it's a lot to follow up on, but it's really important that if you want to do business with the federal government, we had a gentleman who used to work with us, and Clyde Stolfus, everybody will remember Clyde, and his saying, which always stuck with me, is if you want to dance with the bear, you have to let the bear lead. So GSA, the government agencies are the bear, and you have to follow our lead. And we're trying to lay it out as easily as possible for you. We all, you've noticed, repeat certain databases, certain websites that we all use. So it's a new learning experience if you haven't done work with government agencies before, but it's certainly something that every small business, if you are willing to set some time aside on a weekly basis, can get, all small businesses can actually get the hang of it and can be very successful with government contracting. So I did give us a presentation before, and the presentation before was about the public building side of the house for General Services Administration. We also, as I mentioned, have a federal acquisition side of the house, who does work entirely different than the public building side. So public building side is for construction. If you're dealing with any kind of, with the actual construction, the actual building, you're supplying any products or services for the actual building, you're dealing with a contracting officer on the PBS side of the house. And what we're basically most famous for, GSA is most famous for, is our schedules program, our multiple award schedules program. The Federal Acquisition Service is the home of the GSA schedules program. We do work entirely different than the PBS side of the house. So that's kind of why you have to learn about the agency before you contact them. All the agencies have their own information out there, and we certainly are eager to help you weed your way through the process. So this is information on the GSA FSS, Federal Supply Service schedules. Next slide, please. Again, the GSA OSDB overview, why I'm here. I work with the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. We are the advocate for the small businesses within the agency. We ensure that small businesses have an opportunity either as a prime or a sub in each procurement. And we manage the small business programs for the General Services Administration. Next slide, please. Again, here's how we're broken down. We have 11 actually regional offices. I work out of the Philadelphia office. The Mid-Atlantic region, we cover 6-state area: Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Southern New Jersey. When it comes to the Federal Supply Service schedules, these are national schedules. There's one schedule. So everyone in the country is working on the same proposal package. So it's not as important to know the region as it is with the construction side of the house, because I would only be handling the construction in my region. But when it comes to the Federal Supply Service schedule program, we can answer questions for no matter where it is that you're located or you were interested in doing business. Next slide, please. What is a GSA schedule? What is it that I'm talking about? Everybody's saying get on the GSA schedule. A few agencies have mentioned that they use the vendors that are on the GSA schedule. Well, the GSA schedule is a contract. The schedule contract, it's a long-term, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract. What I mean by in that is that we establish contracts with vendors who are, as I mentioned before, our business partners, not our customers. The vendors are our business partners, and we establish long-term contracts when it comes to the federal supply schedule before the need arises. So you don't have to say, oh, an agency wants to buy a product or service. You can say, I want to sell my product. My product is I sell chairs. I sell professional services. I sell any kind of materials. I would like to sell it to the government through the GSA schedule. So you're going to submit a proposal to sell that product or service to the federal government before the need arises, before you know there's a need. You're interested in getting on a long-term government contract so that other agencies can use that contract. That is, as I said, entirely different than PBS. PBS, we have to wait till Congress gives us money. This is a contract that we establish before the need arises. We know that we are going to do contracting for commercial products, anything that can be purchased on the commercial market. And there is going to be an agency that can use that commercial product, because these are products that are common use to everyone. They're not mission specific. Everyone uses computers, everyone uses furniture, everyone uses carpeting, everyone uses all these items that are on a common use item for every agency. So you're saying, I would like to supply this product, which I supply on the commercial market already. Now I'm considering selling it to the government. This is the product, this is the price I sell it on the commercial market. This is the price I'm going to charge the federal government agencies. Once you complete this whole proposal package, you're going to submit it for review and hopefully for award of a contract. When you get that contract awarded and you are on the GSA schedule, you still have not made a sale. What we've done is we've pre-vetted your company. We vetted you so that we know that, yes, you can supply a particular product or service. Yes, your company pricing is fair and reasonable. Yes, you are able to do whatever it is you say you're going to do. And we're going to put you on our schedule of authorized vendors that we offer to all the government agencies. All government agencies are authorized to use our schedule vendors. We are not a mandatory source. We are an optional source for those agencies to use. So if the IRS decides that they would like to have all new computers and they don't want to do their own contracting for their own computers, they say, well, GSA, you're the contracting expert for the federal government. We'd like you to do this contract for us because we know you can get the best price and the best commercial deal for us. So they come to us and say, can you do this contracting for us? And we offer them all of our vendors who are on the GSA schedule, and they can choose which vendor they want to use, and they can place a purchase order against a contract that's already in place. So they're not going out for public bidding. They're not going out. They've made a decision. They need a product. They need a service. They are going to use a GSA schedule vendor. They're not going out for public bidding because all they're going to do is make a selection and place a purchase order against a contract that's already in place, the GSA schedule contract. So that's what it means by these long-term contracts. As you can see, when the agency decides to do that, it provides them a fast, cost-effective procurement solution. They are getting a contract, they are getting a product or service from a company that has been pre-vetted by a government agency. We're guaranteeing that the prices are fair and reasonable. The prices are something that are cost-effective, and they can just, as I said, place that purchase order. We're not mandatory. Government GSA schedule purchases are approximately 21% of overall federal procurement spending. If they choose to do their own contracting, they certainly have authority to do that. Nobody tells an agency how they have to spend their budget, but if they want to do their own contracting, they are able to. If they choose to use the GSA schedules, they certainly have authority to use the schedule also. So that's what the schedule is about. That's why you want to get on the schedule. So you are standing there at the ready with a contract in hand when an agency approaches you and says, I'd like to make a purchase. That's the beauty of the GSA schedule. But it's not all that easy. It requires commitment and it requires an effort on your part to be successful. Great success can be found through the GSA schedules, but it is a commitment of time and it is a commitment of effort for you to be on the GSA, be accepted to the GSA schedule and to maintain your position on the GSA schedule. Next slide, please. If you've looked at the GSA schedules before, you want to take another look because we've changed the way we're doing business. We're constantly in the process of hopefully improving the way we do business. What the GSA has done is in 2019, GSA launched a streamlined schedule solution, which is one solicitation. It created a single solicitation. So instead of having 26 different schedules for vendors to review and find out which one they need to apply to, we now have one solicitation, which encompasses everything that GSA includes on our schedule program. As a result of this, we've streamlined the terms and conditions, which hopefully make it easier for the vendors. We've reduced our numbers of special items that we have on the GSA schedule, and we have eliminated a lot of duplication. So now we've gone from 888 special item numbers down to 317 special item numbers, which makes it a whole lot easier for vendors to select what it is that they want to submit for a proposal to be placed on the GSA schedule. Next one, please. So now, instead of having 888 different special item numbers to choose from, we've reduced it and categorized it into 12 multiple award schedule categories. All of these multiple award schedule categories are included on the one schedule. So now if you, as a small business vendor, or any vendor actually, want to provide IT services and professional services, rather than filling out two separate solicitation packages, submitting two separate proposals, maintaining two separate contracts, you're going to be able to combine those services and submit one proposal package, deal with one contracting officer, one contracting acquisition center, and it makes it a whole lot easier for you to maintain your contract, and it truthfully makes it a lot easier for us also. The next slide, please. It's not always a good fit. It's a lot of work to be placed on a GSA schedule. It's a lot of work to be placed on the schedule, and it's a lot of work to maintain the schedule. So there's a lot of considerations that you need to take before you want to start filling out the proposal package. First of all, the proposal package is open for bidding on a continuous basis. It's on the SAM.gov system. All you have to do is go in there and look for the GSA schedules solicitation package, and you will find it and you can review it. And it should be reviewed several times before you make a decision that you want to be part of this program. The prerequisite is that for any business, you must be in business for 2 years, and you must be able to provide 2 years of financial statements. Including those financial statements, you have to be able to provide evidence that you have sold $25,000 worth of product or service in each of those 2 previous years, 2 years that you are previous to the year that you are submitting your proposal package. So you must be in business for 2 years, and you must provide, and you must have sold $25,000 worth of product or service within those 2 years. You must be able to provide past performance. You need to, we're going to ask for references, and we're going to check those references. How did you perform? Would they work with you again? A typical type of past performance requests. Past performance, that is government past performance, is always helpful, but it's not necessary. If you have never done work with the government before and you want to submit your proposal package to be placed on the GSA schedule, you need to be able to supply at least 3 references, a minimum of 3, a maximum of 6, we say, for who you have done work with in the past in the commercial sector. So government experience is a plus, it's not a requirement, but we do need past performance. The only way we can judge what you're going to do in the future is by reviewing what you've done in the past. So don't approach GSA if you have any blemish on your past performance. If you need to clear everything up and have a good past performance review that we can investigate you and come up with a clean record for your firm. Your products must be commercially available. The thing about the GSA schedules is we are providing commercially available products and services to government agencies, things that every agency would use in the course of doing business. We don't provide anything mission specific on the GSA schedules. So mission specific would be ammunition. We don't buy ammunition. That's specific to the Department of Defense. Mission specific might be medicines. We don't buy medicines. That is something mission specific to the Veterans Administration. So if it's something that every business would use in the course of doing a day's worth of business, that's something that we can provide you can provide to government agencies through the GSA schedule. You must be registered in the sam.gov site. No government agency is going to do any work with you if you're not registered in sam.gov. So if you're not registered there, that's the first step that you want to take, is get into the registration, get into the sam.gov site and begin your registration. Make sure your registration is updated. It has to be renewed on a yearly basis. So make sure that it's up to date and it gives all the good information about your company that's still applicable to your company. Let me see what else. It's free. sam.gov is free. If don't let people tell you that you need to pay a consultant or you need to pay a service fee to get into the sam.gov system. It's free of charge. It's something that you can do on your own. The PTACs are excellent sources for information if you need assistance. They offer their services free of charge. So don't let anyone convince you that a lot of money needs to be spent to get into the sam.gov system. Next slide, please.
Hey, Helena, I have to cut in I hate to do this to you, but I have to give you a couple minutes because we do have, I think, about 5 more presentations.
Okay,
so
all right.
if you don't mind, if I can just, everyone will get the slides. So if you can, I'll just go through them really quick. And if you can just stop me at like a really important one, we can.
Okay. Okay. I think I've covered this. Obtaining a digital certificate. There is a charge on getting on the GSA schedule, which you are paying to obtain a digital certificate. Last I heard, the cost was $119. It's not paid to GSA. It's paid to it's paid for the service of getting a digital certificate. It's all covered in the solicitation package. Okay, next slide. You're going to have to take training to get on the GSA schedule. There's a Pathways to Success and a readiness assessment. That's all covered in the solicitation package again, and you're going to be directed through this process as you're reviewing the solicitation. Next slide. sam.gov, government-wide contracting database. Everything's advertised in sam.gov. Important website. Please review it. Please take all the training that's on the sam.gov site. Okay, next slide. You want to find out if you're competitive. You don't want to go through all of this if you are not even competitive with the other people that are already on schedule. You can find out the information on the people who are already on schedule by going into our websites, eLibrary, GSA Advantage, and our Schedule Sales Plus. Next slide, please. The eLibrary is open to anybody can get in there. You can go on there and you can find out everything that you need to know about a GSA schedule vendor. You can put in your product line, put in furniture, and you're going to see everybody that's on that has a schedule contract, and you're going to see their pricing, and you're going to be able to review the terms and conditions of the sales. This is a transparent system. Everybody loves to go in here and find out what there is to find out about their competitors or about the products that we buy, the pricing that we pay. Just remember, when you're on GSA schedule, your information's on here too. So everything that you put on your schedule about your company, that yes, you are women-owned, yes, you are a service-disabled veteran-owned, all of that is going to be there for public perusal, and it needs to be just verifiable. Next slide, please. GSA Advantage is another website it's open continuously. You can go on there. It's open for public perusal. You can see what it is that we're buying, what the prices are that we're paying. Next slide, please. So this is the process. Actually, you're going to go to the GSA roadmap and take the training. You're going to, it shows you how to assemble your offer and to finalize your offer so that you are actually receive a GSA contract number, and you can market yourself to government agencies utilizing the contract that's already in place, and they can place purchase orders against your contract. Next slide, please. All of the documentation that you're going to need is on preparing the offer is on the GSA roadmap. What I have to tell you is that this is an electronic system. I think that's on the next slide, please. Yeah, this is an electronic system and there's very little opportunity to speak to a contracting officer as you go through the system. We put all the training on the website. You're going to get into the electronic help center. It's going to walk you through how to register, how to prepare your offer, how to submit a modification. Also, if you feel you need to speak with someone, there is an opportunity, of course, to send emails. Your PTACs are expert at going through the GSA solicitation package. If you need assistance, the PTACs are always available. You should contact them and let them know that you're having a problem. There's very few problems, I think, that you can submit that they haven't seen before and they haven't been able to work through. If not, they can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with us. But actually, the PTACs are your first source of information when it comes to submitting a proposal package. Next slide, please. How do we evaluate a multiple awards schedule offer? These are the things that we're looking for: the completeness, that everything is completed, that you have given us all the information we've asked for, that the scope of what you're offering is what you are sending to us as your past performance. You can't say, well, I sell IT equipment and I've been selling IT equipment for 20 years and now I'd like to offer desks and furniture, office furniture. You don't have experience in office furniture. You can't sell office furniture. You can only sell to us what you have, what comes under the scope of what you do on the commercial market. That your company is financially responsible. If you're a large business, that you are willing to subcontract out, because no large business gets a contract with us unless they submit a subcontracting plan. But the proposed pricing and price related terms and conditions are going to be reviewed. We're going to follow you, see what your commercial pricing is, and that you are giving us something that is comparable to your commercial market pricing. Next slide, please. Okay, fact finding. This is for the contract formation. This is actually the stages that you're going to go through. You're going to, once you submit your proposal package to a contracting officer, the contracting officer will go through fact finding and clarifications and get in touch with you. You're going to get a message that says, Mary Smith is the contracting officer that is reviewing your proposal package. Please look for information from her. She most likely, just everyone that submits a proposal package is going to get contacted by a contracting officer saying, what did you mean by what's on page 6? What did you mean by, can you clarify what you submitted on page 10? So fact finding and clarifications is the first step. After that, we're going to negotiate the prices with you. We're going to negotiate all kinds of the terms and conditions of the contract, what it is that we are getting your best offer. After that, we're going to request your final proposal revisions, which include everything from the fact finding and the negotiations into your submittal, your new submittal, your final submittal. And after we review the final submittal, they will have a decision of award. Yes, you will get on the GSA schedule, or no, we can't accept your proposal package. Next slide, please. Our learning resources, we do have the vendor toolbox, our roadmap, our GSA schedules, website, training events, and we do have several learning resources that you can use to get through the proposal package. Also, as I mentioned, next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. The subcontracting opportunities. If you're not ready for GSA schedules, there's always an opportunity for subcontracting. So going to the subcontracting directory, the subcontracting directory lists a contact person in each large company that is responsible for their subcontract that they submit to GSA. And you can contact them directly and let them know that you are interested in subcontracting opportunities with that company. Next, please. And this is what I do want to acknowledge all the help and assistance that is given to GSA by the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. They know just as much about GSA schedule contracts as we do. They offer their services free of charge. They do an excellent job. The Small Business Administration definitely gives you all the information you need about certifications, about government contracting. They have classes online that you can take that will help clear things up. The Minority Business Development Agency works with the vendors one-on-one. And doing business with GSA, of course, you can get in touch with the small business officer for clarifications or for questions. You can, and we also do advertise our events when we hold our own GSA training events. Next slide. And my name again is Helena Koch. My email address, helena.koch@gsa.gov. Send me an email at any time. Just say, I didn't quite catch what you said. Just let me, and I will get back to you and we can have a discussion. I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate, I hope I was fast enough. But just please don't hesitate to get in touch with me at any time. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Helena. We did have one question, but I'm going to send it to you privately. So if you can just message me back privately and I can respond to the person.
All right, that's great. All right.
Awesome. So next up, we have the Federal Aviation Administration with Deborah Hemphill. Deborah, are you able to unmute?
I am able to unmute.
Awesome,
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Perfect. So let me get you set up here and you can actually just get started and I'll catch up.
Okay, well, I'll keep it short. I know we're time constrained. My name is Deborah Hemphill. I'm a small business advocate at the William J. Hughes Technical Center for the Federal Aviation Administration. Our mission for the FAA is to provide the safest, most efficient aerospace system in the world. Next slide. We are, from an acquisition perspective, we're separated into 3 service areas: Eastern, Central, and Western service area. From a buying side, you'll also see us procure support services. In addition to the 3 service areas, you'll also see 2 centers and Washington headquarters. The 2 centers are the William J. Hughes Technical Center here in Atlantic City, New Jersey, located within the Eastern region. You'll see the Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center located within Central region in Oklahoma City, and Washington headquarters in headquarters. Next slide. Something else I wanted to mention, if I wasn't able to, if you wanted to meet with me and you were not able to get on the schedule, because I know we're time constrained, you can feel free to email me and we could set up a corporate capability briefing or talk a little bit more about our agency and our buying practices if you'd like, by just emailing me, and we could set it up that way. I didn't want anyone to feel, if you weren't able to get on my schedule, that I'm not available for the rest of this week, next week, or at your convenience. So some things I wanted to mention that are a little bit different from the rest of the federal government, because we buy differently in that we are not a FAR-based agency. We have our own acquisition management system. Based from 1997, we had acquisition reforms. So since then, we've sort of done things a little bit differently. Lately, I think I'd say we're probably leaning more toward following the intent of the FAR with some of the programs and AMS changes that we've recently been implementing. Next slide. We are exempt from the Small Business Act, and we're not a FAR-based agency. We did, just within the past 6 months, our AMS has been changing a lot. So we recently introduced the Hub Zone program, which our agency historically had not had. We also have the Women-Owned Small Business Program, as well as the Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business Program. So that gives us the capability for competitive set-asides in those categories, as well as 8A, Service Disabled Veteran Small Business, and WOSB, EDWSB, and Hub Zone directed awards. The dollar value of the directed awards is a threshold of 4.5 million. So that includes the totality of the contract timeframe, including the base, and all of the option years cannot exceed that threshold. Next slide. We buy, so I'm here, I work at the William J's Technical Center, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the slides that are upcoming. But as an agency, we do buy construction services, supplies, IT, R&D. Next slide. We buy a little differently also depending on what we buy. And I could talk a little bit about that in the upcoming slides as well. Right now, from a general perspective, we buy using IDIQ contracts. We purchase off the GSA schedule. We use purchase cards. We use mandatory sources when appropriate. We use strategic sourcing vehicles such as EFAS, CDIS, and we also make use of qualified vendor lists. Next slide. So the William J's Technical Center is the technical heart of our agency. The purpose of the William J's Technical Center in Atlantic City, New Jersey is to support the advancement of our next generation air transportation system. We do this by integrating systems and capabilities through collaboration with industry, academia, and government. We also are leading the federal laboratory for research development, test and evaluation, and in-service management. We provide the gateway for our national airspace system upgrades, improvements, as well as operational sustainment. And from an acquisition perspective, we buy a little differently depending on what you're purchasing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that on the next slide as well. Okay, so back in around 2016, from Washington headquarters, they transferred a lot of the major IT procurement contracts over to the William J's Technical Center. The reason why they did that is because our contracting officers were already accustomed to purchasing technical support services, since the tech center here, it was primarily here for supporting our agency's infrastructure for research and development, test and evaluation, V&V, and some things like that. So because of that, we do support and we buy out of our region issuing office technical support services that have a performance geographic location of sometimes not here. So sometimes you'll see a geographic preference for a procurement that's Oklahoma City and Washington headquarters, and some here in New Jersey, but we're purchasing out of here in New Jersey. I try to bring that up and talk to people a little bit about that, because when you're looking on SAM, and you set up searches, you don't want to exclude the geographic region of New Jersey, just because it's a little complicated, and what we buy here, you may be missing some of the large nationwide geographically dispersed type technical support contracts. So always include us here in New Jersey, as well as headquarters in Oklahoma City. So I included here our IT industry liaison point of contact information. Kenyon Elliott is the individual who is the industry liaison for the IT organization. And he sits over at the Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center in Oklahoma City. So some of you can go to the next slide and I'll talk about it there. So some of the things that you'll be able to see from our website, I manage our agency's website as well. And we sort of tried to revamp our procurement forecast a little bit this year to try to make it more useful to industry. So we added some fields that for each line item that we felt that would help you from a tracking perspective. So we added a field in which program offices can put link to procurement data, for example. Some procurements will have a market survey come out a year later, you'll see a draft SIR, and there's, sometimes a time perspective to some of the larger acquisitions. So because of that, we wanted to give the program office a space to include some sam.gov links in the event a program page exists and the SIR's already been released. So we also included incumbent contract data, for example, in our procurement forecast. So you'll be able to see if that information, if that data is available, if that specific line item does have a previous acquisition strategy, you'll be able to see that in the incumbent procurement data for that line item as well. So you'll be able to see if it was previously procured through the 8A program, who that prime contractor was when it was awarded, and some information like that. We're also trying to get some contract numbers on there as well. And our effort in doing this as an agency was to try to provide more of a long-term tracking perspective for businesses and companies who are sort of watching a procurement through the life of the procurement process, because sometimes it takes some time. So in addition to our procurement forecast on our website, you'll be able to access active contracts list. We have a mailing list also. We're going to have some big changes to the AMS coming up within the next couple weeks as well. So if you're on our mailing list, I try to put out like a mailing blast to people that had signed up for it. And that's a good way to keep yourself aware and cognizant of some of the changes within our agency coming up, and that should come right to your inbox. In addition to that, I try to put up some news articles as well whenever we have like a new program that's been implemented within our agency. In addition to that, you'll want to go to sam.gov. I know a lot of speakers already spoke about that, so I'm going to skip right over. We have a subcontracting directory on our website as well that we're constantly updating and trying to make sure that that has updated information for point of contacts. And at the bottom, I included our small business website at sbo.faa.gov. So again, if you have any issues with the website or if you have any questions, I manage our website as well. So you can feel free to email me and we can take care of whatever you need. Next slide. Okay, and this is something some of the other speakers have spoken a little bit about as well, but one thing that we do, which is consistent amongst the federal government for acquisitions, is we do ask that people respond to market surveys. That really does guide the procurement process more than I think industry understands sometimes, because we need to see that some of the small business categories from a set-aside perspective have interest within that community. So if you could demonstrate capabilities, ask questions, and recommend changes, as well as offering new solutions. I have seen contracting officers, after they see market surveys and they find some companies that have non-competitive capabilities, do directed awards through the process of market surveys. So I know it works. It's a great way for you to get your information in front of program offices in particular, because it goes right to them and then they go through and review for your technical capabilities as well. So responding to market surveys is a great way to directly market to program offices. And responding to solicitations. That's just, you know, a little bit of a heads up on reading instruction, evaluation criteria carefully, as well as requesting a debriefing if unsuccessful. Next slide. I know I went through all of that very quickly, but I just wanted to put my contact out here. If you want to set up a corporate capability meeting, I can meet at any time. If you weren't able to get in with me today, feel free to email me and we can set up a time for later this week at your convenience. That's fine too, because I'm available.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deborah. Next up, we're going to have the Naval Surface Warfare Center with Anthony DePlacido. So I'm going to go ahead and get his presentation up here in just one moment here. If I can see everything. Okay. Anthony, oh yes, I see that you're unmuted. Feel free to start and yes, I can hear you. Feel free to start and I'll get us together.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Anthony DePlacido. I'm a procurement analyst for the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Philadelphia Division. And I'll be just briefly go over just a little bit about our agency and our contracting division. So we are located, next slide, please. So we are located at the Philadelphia Naval Yard. Excuse me. It's gone over just a massive overhaul over the last 20 years. It's a pretty good place to work. It's really come up. There's some major tenants that include Urban Outfitters, GlaxoSmithKline, Penn State University is located there, Jefferson University Hospital, and it's still being built up. There's even more area of expansion forthcoming. Next slide. All right, so more specific to our agency and what we do is we provide research and development, acquisition support, engineering, systems integration, cybersecurity, logistics, and life cycle savings for surface and undersea vehicles. So basically what that all boils down to is that we do our best to deliver innovative, reliable, and affordable solutions for the warfighter. Next slide. All right, so this is how we are constructed in our organization. So we have various different departments under NSWCPD from machinery programs and platforms to propulsion, power, and auxiliary machinery. We have an engineering department, technology, contracts department, corporate operations, and talent management. So all of that falls under our current organization. Next slide. All right. So this is really how we spend our money. As you can see, from FY16 through FY21, we've increased our obligations each year. For FY21, we finished with $793 billion. I'm sorry, $1 million. And we have about projected to do the same for FY22. We also have 1,498 active contracts that we manage currently. 80% of that is services. Next slide. And then you can kind of see here how we break that down. The majority of it is services that are other than research and development. And then we have a portion that also goes towards supplies. And those supplies really go to help in the mission. And that's upticked a little over the last couple of years. Next slide. Okay. So this is the top 15 contractors that work with us. The ones that are highlighted in the orange color, you can see there are small businesses. You know, when you have some time, you can look, and when you see those codes inside, those are NAICS codes. So basically it's where the services fall and what type of service. You'll see the same ones over and over again. A lot of it falls into engineering type work that we provide to the Navy. Next slide. I know this slide, other presentations have gone over this as well, but we do use sam.gov to post our announcements, our solicitations, award notices, and anything upcoming that we have. So if we have for example, we have something that's coming up, we'll post a request for information. It's an opportunity for you to provide a capability statement. And what happens is that'll get reviewed by the contracting officer as well as our small business office to see what we can potentially set aside for small businesses. And certain dollar values, we'll put just synopsises or solicitations. That's your opportunity to go in and provide a proposal. We keep those open for 30 days. We also have multiple award contracts that we administer and manage. We post those out there for 30 days unless we have some specific exemption. And we also, as the Navy, use Seaport as a contracting vehicle as well. It's very similar to sam.gov, where announcements will be posted in there, and all the Seaport awardees can go in and bid, whether they are small or large business. We can set them aside in there as well. We do like to do industry days, especially if we have anything coming up for a future requirement that is complex in nature. We just recently had an industry day, I believe, last week, again, where we just kind of go over what it is that we may be looking for in the future. Next slide. Something that we've done, which has been a little bit out of the box, is called other transactional authority. We understand that it's not always easy to contract with the government. So this is really used for those businesses out there that are a non-traditional contractor or a non-traditional or traditional contractor that's partnering with non-traditional contractors to provide a service for us. Right now, we're using this to carry out prototype projects that are directly relevant to enhancing our mission. Next slide. So one that we had just awarded, the areas that it covered, you can see here anywhere from data transformation to cybersecurity to research and development. This, what we call for short, an OTA, is covering all these technological areas. Next slide. Okay, now, if you want to learn a little bit more about it, I did provide a link here where you can go in to register for the event. It's upcoming on November 2nd and 3rd at the Penn State's campus at the Philadelphia Naval Yard. You can register for it, and you can also, if you're interested in becoming a member of it, please go to the link provided, and the PowerPoint slide will be provided to you to look for more information on that. Next slide. Sorry, can you go back 2 slides? I think I may have had a disconnection.
Is this one correct?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So for our breakout sessions, our acquisition manager for Department 10, her name is Rayanne. She's going to be doing the meetings this afternoon. So I just want to share just a few slides on what Department 10 offers. So Department 10 is the corporate operations division of NSWCPD. And their mission is to operate effectively and cost efficiently as a Navy center for hull, mechanical, and electrical machinery systems. And they provide strategic business operations to us, including IT, facilities infrastructure, security, human resources, corporate business, and property management. Next slide. Okay, and these are just the various departments within Department 10. So as you can see, we have talent management divisions, security, IT, data analytics, communication, and within there, you can look and see if anything that would fit for you and some of the things that are offered under each department, such as recruitment, facilities management, and all the other different areas that are covered within there. Next slide. Okay, and finally, our last slide here just shows our contractors that are currently working with Department 10 and the type of support that they offer.
All right, thank you so much, Anthony. And we are going to move swiftly into our last section of the day, where we're going to be hearing from the Defense Logistics Agency, the Office of Small Business Programs in New Jersey, and then the Tobyhanna Army Contracting Demand. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the DLA presentation in 1 second. And Rosita, I know you're on. Okay, I see you're unmuted. Awesome.
Yeah, I would, Dominique, if some people had signed up for Anthony or Charlotte, those requests, those meeting requests should be going to Rianne. So if any of our suppliers had signed up for those matchmaking, if you could please redirect it to Rianne, and she'll respond to you in your matchmaking for today or tomorrow.
Awesome. Okay. Can everyone see the full screen of the DLA presentation?
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Dominique, can you hear me fine?
I can hear you. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me use your conference room too.
Absolutely.
Good morning, or almost afternoon. For 60 years, that's 60 years, DLA has been a leader in the defense logistics and dedicated to advancing the art and science of end-to-end supply chain management. I am Rosita Carosella, Associate Director of Small Business. I support the DLA Contracting Services Office, and proud to say that for 40 of those 60 years, I have supported DLA in various acquisition and supply mission. Next slide, please. So this summarizes a snapshot of who we are. We're close to between 26,000 to 27,000 personnel, mostly civilian, located throughout the world. And since we are a joint command, we don't report to any single military service. A lot of our office codes begin with a J for joint. For instance, our acquisition group is J7, and our CIO office, our IT office, is J6. So that's important to know how our agency is organized. We manage over 5 million items that are segmented into 9 supply chains managed by 6 subordinate commands or MSCs. And they're listed there, so I'm not going to go into them individually. We'll go into the next slide. Once a month, we offer a 1-hour doing business with DLA webinar. So if you're interested in any one of these individual supply chains, please consider participating in that. This gives you a summary of our spend for fiscal year 2020. It was about 39 billion. And to cut to the chase, about 15 billion of that went to small business. You can read a little more about where these individual supply chains are situated throughout the world. And let's go to the next slide. We have a lot of information churn, a lot of individual contracts awarded, and we do use GSA schedules frequently for some of our services. But if you look for fiscal year 20, the biggest piece of that small business pie is our construction and equipment supply chain. That's not construction services. That is construction, the items that we provide to, like, say, the CBs or a Corps of Engineers to perform their service contracts. My direct involvement is the 778 million, that light, pretty purple slice of the pie. That is the small business spend for DCSO. Okay, next slide. So I'll tell you a little bit more about DCSO. If you can imagine whatever you need to run your business, that's what DCSO covers for our agency. So it's all the IT products, services, knowledge-based professional services, to a small extent, facilities-related services, because we're restricted in the use of military construction funding to only maintenance and upgrades. If we had a need for a new building, we would have to go to, say, to the Corps of Engineer or NAVFAC for that. We do contracts for other agencies. For instance, we contract for DCAA, Defense Contract Audit Agency. We have an R&D team that covers SBIRs, SDTRs, Rapid Innovative Funds, awards, and broad agency announcements. Much smaller mission than the military service, but still significant and worth looking at if you're into innovation, especially in the logistics spectrum. Contract vehicles, we have a multiple award contract vehicle for IT services. It's the J6 Enterprise Technology Services, or fondly referred to as JETS. We're in the 5th year, the 5-year base, and about to execute a 3-year option on that. But for something this complicated and intricate, I think I can say safely in fiscal year 22, we're going to start to put out some notices on sam.gov about maybe industry days for the follow-on to JETS. So that is totally computed on sam.gov, not on GSA schedule, but we do use GSA for a lot of the software renewals, hardware purchases. And in the IT sector, the NASA Solutions for Enterprise-Wide Procurement, SOUP, is a very comfortable vehicle for a lot of agencies to use for IT hardware refreshes and some software. So aggregately, DCSO, we represent only 3.5% of our agency contract spend. For 8 years in a row, within my 3.5 piece of the pie, we have exceeded our internal small business goals, and we're running at over 50% to small business awards, and have exceeded each of the socioeconomic categories, the Hub Zone, the 8A, Woman-Owned, and the SDVOSB. Not to some great extraordinary effort on our part, but there happens to be a lot of companies out there in these industry sectors. So there's a lot of competition. You're not out there alone. So use those other small businesses who have been successful in getting some of those awards as potential mentors, or reach out to them because they could provide you some insight on what they did to have some success. All right. The next slide, please. The best information I could give you is the first 6 positions of our contracting office ID. It's also called the DODAC, the DoD Activity Address Code. For DCSO, this is the complement of current contract IDs. It'll help you do research for anything that will be posted to SAM.gov. Also, anything historically that you might want to see in the federal procurement data system. This past year, we added the mission for DLA strategic materials, the SP Salt and Pepper 8000 at Fort Belvoir. And if we get additional funding for purchase of unique ores and minerals, there might be some increase in that sector, but it's a very niche kind of work. Next slide. Just a schematic of the top 10 NAICS codes that DCSO has dealt with. And the second one, it seems kind of out of whack because it's like a manufacturing NAICS code. That's the NAICS code that's related to the FedMall, which is an electronic commerce system and awards that we currently have. There's going to be a lot of changes to FedMall. We are working jointly with GSA in streamlining and eliminating duplication with the GSA schedules. But more to come on FedMall. I don't have the crystal ball on that one. Next slide, please. Okay, the main, we talked about the 9 supply chains. These are all the individual small business office emails. I say emails, the phone numbers there, but as we're all virtual, it's kind of difficult to contact people. Don't send your capabilities to all the addresses listed. Try to do some preliminary homework to see, which of these groups might be closest aligned with what you are selling. Oh, thank you, Ms. Williams. So because I've given presentations before, and the next thing I know, 10 companies are sending everybody emails, and that's not going to give you traction. You really need to do some preliminary homework to do that. So I want to mention to you, once a month we do a Doing Business with DLA webinar. We're going to start though in this year to have more like niche topics. November the 10th at 1:30. It's going to be centered about understanding the Joint Certification Program, JCP. If you have manufacturing capabilities and you are interested in finding out how to manufacture a military part, you might want to know about the JCP program, which is managed by DLA at our Battle Creek location. We're skipping December. We're giving everybody a break for Christmas. And in January the 12th, it's going to be how to create a source approval request package. That's a SAR package. While DLA buys millions of items, we are not the end user. So the end users are usually in military services. So a common question is, how do I get a NSN for my item? Well, it's not up to you. It's up to the military service engineering support activity to identify that something needs an NSN. What the SAR package does and what the DLA centers in Columbus, Ohio and Aviation down in Richmond, they help companies submit their packages, applications to be considered an equivalent source for a particular national stock number. And so they kind of do the proofreading and make sure it's complete before it's presented to the military service engineering support activity. And our upcoming webinars, it's on DLA.mil, small business tab, outreach calendars, and they'll just keep adding the topics there. All right, the last email on there is my office. And yes, that phone number does work. It's forwarded to my cell phone. So if you ever have to contact me, it's dcso.smallbusiness@dla.mil. Next slide. And there's a 2-person office, myself and Erin Holland, who's doing another matchmaking program today. So she couldn't be here. And thank you for the time and opportunity to tell you a little bit about DLA.
Thank you so much, Rosita. Next up, we're going to hear from Anthony Piccolo, who is from the Office of Small Business Programs of New Jersey. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up his slide here. Anthony, are you able to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Great. So I'll keep it short and sweet, as I know we're approaching lunchtime. Like Dominique said, my name is Anthony Piccolo. Myself and Garen Fracasso are in the Office of Small Business Programs for New Jersey, which is located, we're headquartered at Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey, but we also support efforts that come out of Fort Dix. One of the offices that is at the Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst in New Jersey as well. We support the Army side of that. So really, like I said, ACC New Jersey, Picatinny and Fort Dix, any action over $10,000 is what our office has purview over. Like many of the people that talked about it already in their small business offices, we have a great passion for small business. We definitely like to set aside things as much as we can for small business when it's practical. I just pulled up a short, slide here just for the 5-year spend category, just to give you an idea of what kind of services and products that Picatinny and Fort Dix typically purchase. Over the past 5 years, you can see primarily it's weapons and ammunition. Kind of makes sense. Picatinny is the home of R&D for weapons and ammo. We house not only PEO Joint Program Executive Office Armaments and Ammunition, which is JPEO A&A, that kind of handles all of our ammo, all of our bombs, D-mill, that kind of stuff. But we also house PM Soldier Lethality, which used to be Soldier Weapons, which is under PEO Soldier. So we house those two, kind of giant PMs at our facility at Picatinny, and that's really why you see those dollar values being the highest. Under weapons and ammunition for the $6.38 billion, typically the NAICS codes we see is 332992, which is for small arms manufacturing, 332993, which is ammunition other than small arms, so that would be our medium and large caliber. We have a lot of howitzers and tank rounds and stuff like that. And the last one is 332994, which is small arms, ordnance, and ordnance accessories. So, weapons mounts or anything, ancillary to the weapons or ammunition that would be in there. So, whether it's sights or bipods or tripods, anything like that. Obviously, a lot of manufacturing work done in the 33299 facility there. Second to weapons and ammo is our professional services. There's a lot of 541330, which is engineering services. So that's primarily where most of the 2.57 billion are being spent under engineering services. And then also, there's a catch-all, 541990 if they can't think of, what specific exact service it should fall under, they always default to that. So, obviously, all these NAICS codes I'm saying, if you have anything that handles with that, or if that's in your core capability, please reach out. My phone number and Garen's phone number and our email addresses are up at the top there. Feel free to write them down, or I think you'll get the slides later. And, reach out if you can't get a hold of me, tonight or tomorrow. I think I have some more time slots open for tomorrow too, but we'd always be open to having a Microsoft Teams conversation. We've been doing that since COVID hit. We've been having capability briefings through Microsoft Teams. So if you're in need of reaching out to us, please feel free. After that, there's kind of a mix for IT. We do a little bit of that. There's an IT facility at Picatinny. We have a division there. R&D, where we have most of our scientists and laboratory technicians. They sub out for some of that. And then it is the smallest dollar value on the side there. Facilities and construction with $280 million. But it's actually the most contracts that we have. And a lot of them, majority of them are 8A sole source awards. But the most contracts that come out of that is probably facilities construction. We have a ton of those that are in the 2-3, NAICS code. So 2-3, whatever. So starting with 2-3, that's our most contract you'll get. They're probably smaller dollar values, but the biggest opportunity is probably there. Your bigger dollar values will be in the weapons ammo Those are like the multi-million-dollar contracts that we have, but it's mostly for production of ammo and weapons. And on the bottom of the screen, a lot of people said this too, but SAM.gov, obviously that's where our contracted opportunities are all held. The DODAC for ACC New Jersey, which again is Fort Dix and Picatinny, is W15QKN. Make sure we found that if you put an asterisk at the end of that, that actually gets you all of the contract opportunities. Sometimes specialists or PCOs will put a hyphen at the end of it, or sometimes they'll go right into the year. So if you don't put the asterisk, you may miss some of the opportunities. So again, make sure you're putting that in there when you're doing your contract opportunity search. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Garen by phone or email, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Short and sweet. All right, last but not least, we have Dave Kern, who's going to be talking to us from Tobyhanna Army Depot. So I will cue up his presentation, and this will be the last presentation of the day. So after this, I will give some brief instructions for lunch and then the matchmaking meetings, and then we'll get started. Dave,
hey,
are you? There we go. I can hear
here.
you.
How's my vocal?
Perfect.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. As Dominique said, my name is Dave Kern. I am the small business professional at Tobyhanna Army Depot. Wear a couple of hats, as you've heard from some of the previous small business folks. We're the point of entry for anyone that wants to do business with our facility. Mine is Tobyhanna Army Depot. I also wear a couple of hats. I'm also a procurement analyst, and in that capacity, I do webinars on wide area workflow. So if any of you out in the audience has had Department of Defense contract and you need to get paid, you're probably familiar with submitting that invoice or that payment request through the wide area workflow portal. So I partner with PTAX, and I've done a webinar which covers registering with the website, submitting the invoice through the portal, and tracking your payment. So just as part of the public service announcement, if anyone out there ever has questions on submitting a payment request or has any problems getting paid on a DoD contract, give me a call. I'll be happy to assist you. I'm also a contract specialist, so I also work with our contract office. I've done contracts. I'm able to encourage the contracting officer in my capacity to set aside procurements for small business. So next slide, please. And this is our org chart. It just gives you some of the other small business professionals. We're based in Aberdeen Proving Ground. I'm one of the offsite folks on the right-hand column, but these are some of the other small business professionals that I work with and their contact information and some of the customers that they serve. Next slide, please. Okay. At Tobyhanna Army Depot, just to give you a little background on what we do, we're a repair facility. We're based, we answer to, or we fall under the Communications Electronics Command in Aberdeen Proving Ground. And as a repair facility, like I said, we fix things. Our specialty is electronics. If you want the book definition, we provide logistics support for command, control, communications, computers, cyber, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance across the Department of Defense. So in that capacity, some of the services that we offer, we do overhaul and repair, we do sustainment, we do fabrication and manufacturing. We have an engineering staff, so we do design as well. And we don't only offer the services for the Army; they're not our only customer. We do work for other branches of the Department of Defense as well. Some of the things that we repair are communications or navigation systems, radars, GPS, the shelters that house those components. So those shelters, we can strip them down, paint them, refurbish them, replace all the components in them. So we have a lot of capabilities, but we can't do everything. And so what we can't do, we'll go out and we'll find small business sources to do that. On this slide, we talk a little bit about our goals. We've kind of slumped a little bit over the last fiscal year. There's some external factors, the pandemic and the fact that our workload has been down contributed to that. But our commander says that FY22 is looking up and we're early in the fiscal year. So hopefully we'll bounce back. Next slide, please. Just like Picatinny before me and some of the other facilities, we have a mission. but we buy a lot of other services and constructions to support that mission. So we're like a small city. We buy a lot of different things. And on this slide, we give some of the more popular, some of the top NAICS codes that we've done, some of the dollars that we spent. You'll see the top ones, 236220, which is industrial building construction. We have a lot of old warehouses and a lot of old buildings on our facilities, so we're in the process of upgrading them. We just recently awarded an IDIQ. You heard that acronym earlier, an indefinite quantity, indefinite delivery, what we call a MATOC, multiple award task order contract for construction. Under that NAICS code, there were 14 awards. If that information hasn't been posted to SAM, it will be very shortly. We just recently made those awards. So if there are any companies in the audience that specialize in construction or any of the support services like the 238 NAICS codes, the HVAC, the electrical, which could be part of a larger project, I would suggest reaching out to those primes to become a subcontractor, and you can attend the site visits and get the lay of the land and see the facility and some of the other projects. Just be, and again, that's 2362220. But if your company does just HVAC or just does roofing or electrical, we won't put those contracts out under the MATOC since they're 238 NAICS codes. We'll go out on SAM for those individually. Some of the other NAICS codes, you see some of the electronics that we have there. I wouldn't agonize if your primary NAICS doesn't appear on this list. We do a lot. We do a lot with some of the other NAICS, for instance, 334417, which is circuit cards, electronics. We buy machining services and things like that. So if your NAICS code doesn't appear on this list, doesn't mean we don't buy it. One of the sources you want to look to, and of course it's a recurring theme, is SAM. Next slide, please. So you see SAM here. My tip to companies when they're searching SAM, I'm going to make a plug for the PTACs as well, because I used to manage one in my former job. They offer a bid match service for their company, so they can search our opportunities and other agencies as well. But if you want to focus on Tobyhanna as your customer, what I suggest you do is when you go to SAM is use Tobyhanna as a keyword and then sort the results by updated date. And that way you'll see in descending chronological order a lot of the items that we buy. It'll give you the complete picture, but you can sift through it. And I'm kind of going through it live. I know this is being recorded, so it might be dated at some point, but just looking at some of the opportunities we currently have out on SAM. I'm a throwback. I was going to say Fed Biz Ops, but we have a 2-ton crane replacement for one of our warehouses. That's the small business set aside. There's a local area network drops, a service contract out there now as well. That's also a small business set aside. If you look through the results, you'll also see that we provide a monthly procurement forecast. That's the top bullet point right here. That's our fair opportunity for industry forecast. That broadband requirement that I just mentioned is part of that as well. We update it monthly. That's the link that'll take you right to this one. I don't believe that link changes, but if you use ACCAPG, that keyword there, you'll zoom in on it. But that we do post that monthly, and the requirements do change from time to time. We have done an industry day. In fact, we did our first virtual industry day back in May. We preferred Teams. That was the platform that we used. And so we had our requirements folks come out, the ones where the requirements generate, do the presentations about contract opportunities, not only for the remainder of the fiscal year, but for FY 22, 23 and beyond. So we provided those briefings. They've been loaded to the SAM. The briefings are there. But if you would like to see what was presented at Industry Day, my contact information is on the last slide. I'll be happy to send that to you. Also, for those of you that sell computers, peripherals, or IT services, keep in mind that we have a mandatory source that we have to use. It's called Chess, just like the game. That's the website there. Regardless of the dollar value, the requirement has to be bought on Chess. For us to not use it, we have to get what's called a statement of non-availability and a waiver, and it's kind of a cumbersome process. But same thing with our MATOC for construction. If you do sell, what you can do is go to the website. You'll see the contract holders there and the different contract vehicles that they have. for services and supplies. And you can see if you want to establish maybe as a subcontract relationship, some of the contract holders, and you can sell your products or services to us indirectly. You heard Elena Koch from GSA. We use GSA a lot, so you might want to get on schedule for that as well. There are other agencies that buy on our behalf. You heard a presentation from DLA. So some of our repair parts, if those national stock numbers may be stocked by DLA, so they may buy on our behalf and ship them to us. The Army Corps of Engineers would be another source. If there are any architect engineer companies in the audience, the Philadelphia Corps of the Army Corps of Engineers buys that service on our behalf. And they also do upgrade some of our upkeep, our family housing on base. So the Army Corps of Engineers can also be another avenue for you to explore for doing business with Tobyhanna. So don't just focus on Tobyhanna as your sole customer. Again, there could be other agencies that buy products and services on our behalf. Next slide, please. Okay. And that was kind of the dog and pony show. Here's my contact information. Keep in mind that those of us in the Army have just migrated to a new system. So our email addresses have been updated. So you'll see it's at army.mil. My email address used to be at mail.mil. So the old system is being decommissioned. So that's my most recent contact. That is the latest and greatest. So if you have any questions, maybe I'll talk to you later today at the breakout sessions. And if you have any questions on wide area workflow or any way I could be of assistance, we are open for visitors. You do have to get cleared, and we do require that you wear a mask, or we can also meet virtually through any platform. Again, we prefer Teams. And that's it.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Dave. And as I said, that concludes the morning sessions. Thank you again to all of the panelists. I mean, we had EPA, we had U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, GSA, NAVFAC, NASA, again, GSA, FAA, Naval Service Warfare Center, Defense Logistics Agency, Office of Small Business Programs, and again, the Tobyhanna Army Depot. Thank you guys so much. I believe all of them will be available for those meetings as well. If it's not the speakers, it will be someone else from their agency. So if you do have a meeting with one of them, make sure that you prepare, use this hour to prepare, get some lunch, all that good stuff. Really quick, I know we had some new attendees join us after I gave my spiel in the very beginning, but all attendees will get the slides and the recording. So if you missed anything, don't worry about it. We got you. Like I said, you have an hour to prepare for your meeting, so please do so. But I do recommend that you get back on the portal at least 15 minutes, at most 10 minutes before your meetings, so that you can work out any kinks just in case. If you have any technical difficulties connecting to your meeting, John Erdman, our amazing event coordinator who assisted us with this virtual aspect, he will be here to assist, and I will do my best to assist as well. And lastly, Josh Kovich, who's not on here anymore, but he did touch on this. We PTACs, we are able to help you guys with everything that the agency spoke about today. So if you just need some more assistance with research or figuring out how to actually do business with them, we're here to help. Everything's free of charge, so please utilize your local PTAC. If you don't know who your local PTAC is, you can go to aptac-us.org, I believe is the website, or you can just email me at smiley@kutztown.edu, and all of this information will be in the follow-up email I send to you guys shortly. But yes, contact us if you have any other questions. But as the panelists said, they're also open to questions as well. So like I said, I don't want to dig into you guys' lunches anymore. I know we ran a little bit late. So I will leave you all to enjoy your lunches. And please make sure you are prompt for your matchmaking sessions. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day and good luck today.